Hey! You ignored a call from Mom the other day, didn't you? What? No, I didn't ignore her. Don't lie. She complained to me that you didn't answer the phone. I thought to myself, here we go again. My husband said this, but I never received a call from my mother-in-law. Not since we got married. I disliked her. She always doted on my husband, John, and I was left out. Then, shall I show you the proof? Just apologize to her directly next time, all right? Directly? But your parents' home is quite far, isn't it? Don't worry about that. John said, grinning. What's so funny? The thing is, Mom is coming here tomorrow. We'll be together all the time from now on. Hearing this, I accidentally dropped and shattered the glass I was washing. In a tragic turn, the glass made a loud crash and shattered into pieces. It was one of my favorite glasses. You can't just spring that on me. We don't even have a spare room. Then what about your room? Your study? You barely use it anyway. Why does it have to be my room? Just make sure everything's tidy before Mom arrives. You can even throw stuff out if you want. His words confused me. Why is she coming? Huh? Why? There's no reason. I just want to be with Mom. I was so stunned, I couldn't say anything. Mother's boy. This started after my father-in-law passed away. John always had a mama's boy tendency. Until now, his father played a barrier role, but not anymore. I'm not hidden from it. Whenever something comes up, it's always Mom, Mom. As his wife, I might as well not exist. Shouldn't you at least discuss it with me? Huh? Why should I discuss anything with you? Besides, this is our house. This is the house I inherited. Enough. Just do as I say. I realized talking to John any further was pointless. No matter what I said, his mind was full of thoughts about his mom. That's it, no more holding back. If that's what you want, I'll do it. It's okay to empty it, right? That's what I've been saying. Don't make me repeat myself. Don't you understand? Just confirming. 7 seconds later, I made a call. It was to a demolition company. Why don't you go pick up your mother? She's arriving tomorrow, right? But she's coming tomorrow. Come back with her then. She'll be delighted, I'm sure. Sometimes you do say the right things. I can't stay here. I gotta go. And so, I got John out of the house, and everything was set. Just you wait. After I demolished the house and moved, John and his mother are in for a hell of a surprise. I'm Emily, a 34-year-old full-time homemaker this year. I'm home. What's for dinner? It's almost ready. Okay, thanks for that. The one speaking so curtly is my husband, John. We've been married for 3 years. We met at a corporate party. Back then, I was working at an event planning company, and he was one of the attendees. Excuse me. Yes, how can I help you? Would you like to exchange contact information? Huh? That was our first conversation. I was surprised, but it didn't feel unpleasant. Sorry for being so sudden. It was love at first sight. Love at first sight. It's my first time feeling this way. Sorry. It's a first for me too. Eventually, we exchanged contact details. I think I felt excited all the way home that day. Later, John got in touch, and we went out for a meal. At first, he seemed a bit unreliable. Would you like to date me? I'd be pleased to. And so, we started dating. John was 3 years older than me. Although he was older, it didn't really feel like it, and I was comfortable around him. We got married 6 months later. Then, John's attitude changed drastically from when we were dating. My mom says she wants to see you. Your mother? Yes, so we're going back to my parents' house tomorrow. Isn't that a bit sudden? We're off tomorrow, so it's a good time. Okay. To be honest, I've always found my mother-in-law difficult. It started with our pre-marriage meeting. You're finally back. I'm home. And who is this? Oh, this is my girlfriend, Emily. She looked me up and down. Come in for now. Thank you for having me. I felt like she glared at me. When it came time for the marriage introduction, John became even quieter. His father's presence was quite significant. Now you can finally get away from your mother. Really? Emily didn't know? He's always been a mama's boy since he was little. Is that so? I glanced at my husband, John, who seemed intimidated by his father. Ever since he was little, he would hide behind his mother whenever he got scared. I was drawn into learning about John's past, a side of him I never knew. My father-in-law and I ended up chatting and laughing about it. Then my mother-in-law spoke up. Hey, Dad, that's enough. What? We were just getting to a good part, right? He looked at me for agreement, and I nodded instinctively. My mother-in-law's gaze turned even sharper towards me. I realized I might have crossed a line. We can talk about this some other time, right? Okay. Eventually, our marriage was approved, and thanks to my father-in-law's kindness, we ended up staying the night at their house. Emily, do you drink? Yes, I do. Why don't we have some together? Sure. My father-in-law loved his liquor. Drinking with him, I learned more about John's past that I hadn't heard before. My father-in-law had always been strict with him. Since he was a child, John lacked confidence, and his father tried to remedy that. Taking care of him can be tough, but I'm counting on you. My father-in-law said, bowing his head to me. I think that's when our relationship began to improve. 2 hours into drinking, I realized that John had disappeared. He had been there just a moment ago. Where's John? Come to think of it, I haven't seen Mom either. Where could they have gone? They'll probably be back soon. At that time, I was still unaware of John's true nature. My father-in-law and I ended up drinking until it was almost the next day. My father-in-law, perhaps tired from the drinking, was fast asleep. As I was about to clean up. How dare you drink so much as a woman? I was startled by my mother-in-law's voice from behind. You understand that you'll have to follow my instructions from now on, right? Yes, I understand. And be careful with John, he's sensitive. Understood. But where is John? I've put him to bed. Put him to bed? I was shocked. It seemed impossible that a grown man over 30 would be put to bed by his mother. Just don't get in the way of me and John. Was this what my father-in-law had been hinting at? Could John really be a mama's boy? After being given such a stern warning by my mother-in-law, I went to bed. And then the next morning. From now on, with Mom not around, you need to pull your weight. I know. We're counting on you, Emily. Yes. There were no words from my mother-in-law. After becoming a couple, I confronted my husband with a question that had been bothering me. John, are you a mama's boy? What? No way. Did you take what Dad said seriously? There are other things that concern me too. Just drop it, okay? John said this, but perhaps he was actually afraid of his father. Then, an incident happened that seemed to unravel everything. That day, we were heading to John's parents' house, as his mother had asked us to. I wondered why now. As we'd never been summoned like this after getting married. I was sure something was up. We're home, Mom. I've missed you. It's been a while. She completely ignored me. Inside, they were having a great time, and I wondered why I was even there. Then I realized something. My father-in-law wasn't there. Where's father-in-law? He must be at the hospital right now. Is something wrong? I don't know. He's been feeling unwell lately. My mother-in-law seemed indifferent about her husband's condition. Isn't that concerning? Concerning? What do you mean? Aren't you worried? She sighed. Why don't you go check on him? He seems to like you. That's not the point. I looked to John for support, but he was indifferent. Far from being concerned about the situation, he was completely engrossed in the cake his mother had baked, not even glancing in my direction. Then they did something unbelievable. We have plans to go out, so can you stay home and watch the house? Stay home? John seemed almost amused. Sorry to ask, but it's for Dad, right? He'd be troubled if no one's home. Maybe, but still. You can do whatever you want while we're gone. It's not a bad deal, right? Wait. We gotta go. Take care of things here. With that, they left. They said I could do as I pleased, but I had no desire to do anything. I was just left in their house, waiting for time to pass. Hours went by. Hearing the sound of the door opening, I hurriedly made my way to the entrance. Father-in-law? Emily, what's going on? Where are they? They went out. Went out? Let's talk in the living room. I moved to the living room and explained to my father-in-law what had happened today. I see. First off, I wasn't even informed they were coming today. What? Plus, I had a hospital visit planned for today. So mother-in-law knew about it. She might have planned this when I was away. But why would she do that? Father-in-law seemed deep in thought, crossing his arms. Probably because I'm in the way. But it's so blatant. Won't it eventually come out? She must have thought it was worth the risk. Actually, what father-in-law told me was shocking. If what he suspected was true, it was nothing short of a disaster. Father-in-law made a suggestion. How about we exchange contact information? It might come in handy if something happens. I would appreciate that. We need to be careful around those two. I don't mind, but I don't want you to suffer, Emily. That's kind of you, father-in-law. Please take care of yourself. You're the only one who says that to me, Emily. Father-in-law smiled a little sadly. Seeing him like that made me feel lonely too. We waited for their return. But no matter how long we waited, they didn't come back. Emily, isn't your phone ringing? Huh? I checked my phone and saw a missed call from my husband. Where are you? Sorry for the late contact. I'm at home. What? And mother-in-law? She's here with me. We're staying overnight. What's that supposed to mean? So, don't bother coming back. Don't joke about this. See you. He hung up. I stood there, stunned. Is something wrong? It seems they're at the other house. And mother-in-law is staying the night. So, they hate me that much. It's ridiculous. I know. I need to think about this. Father-in-law's expression was serious. What will you do, Emily? I'll leave now. I can still make it home. I won't let them do whatever they want. John is lucky to have a wife like you. I said goodbye to father-in-law and left. I had to speak my mind to my husband and mother-in-law. Exhausted after changing trains and riding the bullet train, I finally arrived home past 11 p.m. Breathing heavily, I opened the front door. Then, I heard their laughter. Irritated, I immediately went to confront them. Oh, you're back? You're late. What were you doing? Unable to hold back, I confronted them both. What are you doing here? We're just visiting, what else? Visiting? And leaving father-in-law like that? There's no need to get so angry. Yeah, that's no way to talk. John, you decided this without any communication. That's enough, right? Mother-in-law is here, after all. If you don't like it, you can leave. What? This is my house, isn't it? It's just a house your parents gave you, right? Indeed, the house I currently live in was given by my parents. My father passed away just as I graduated from college, having built this house with the little money he had left. My mother had died when I was young, so he was my last remaining parent. That's why I couldn't forgive their attitude towards father-in-law. Anyway, you should leave tomorrow. Fine. I headed to the room I use as a study. Whenever something unpleasant happens, I always retreat here. My hobby is making jewelry, so I spent the time absorbed in crafting. Before I knew it, the morning sun had risen. I headed to the living room, where mother-in-law was already awake. You look terrible. Thanks to you. So you'll be leaving today? You're persistent. Yes, I know. The mood was gloomy from the morning. Mother-in-law left for her house around noon. Watching my husband send her off with a sad look was unbearable. Afterward, John and mother-in-law were quiet. It was peaceful without mother-in-law. I wished it could always be like this, but it wasn't to be. We need to talk. Have a seat. When I returned from work, I noticed John's unusual demeanor. What's the talk about? Actually, father-in-law has collapsed. Collapsed? Why? You've heard about it from him, haven't you? I heard something before, but it seems pretty serious. That's because you two neglected him. So, can you take care of father-in-law? Take care of him? Why me? What about your mom? It's father-in-law's request. Father-in-law's? I was full of doubts. I was worried about father-in-law's collapse, but why me? I immediately contacted father-in-law. I heard from John, but... Yes, it must have been sudden for you. It was. I don't think I have much time left. I know my body well. Don't talk like that, please. There's something I need to ask of you. This is something I can only entrust to you, Emily. Father-in-law explained his one wish. Revenge on John and mother-in-law. He was fed up with their indifference, even as he fell ill. I decided to fulfill father-in-law's earnest wish. I'll do whatever I can to help. Thank you. I conveyed this immediately. Great. What about your job? I'll quit, of course. I can't work and take care of father-in-law. Right. The next day, I submitted my resignation and headed to my in-laws' house. When I arrived, father-in-law, who had grown frail, thanked me. Thank you for coming so soon. It's okay. I've made my decision. Good. Isn't mother-in-law here? She went to a friend's place today. I see. But this might be an opportunity. Exactly. Let's discuss our next steps. We planned our strategy. I have an idea, can I tell you? Of course. It's about what happens after I die. What do you mean? Honestly, I don't want to leave anything to those two. You mean the inheritance? Yes. They don't know, but they'll regret it after I'm gone. Are you sure? I've thought about it a lot since I got sick. Understood. We talked about various things. Then mother-in-law returned as if nothing had happened. What? You're already here. Mother-in-law isn't reliable, so... You'll work hard then. I know what to do. I couldn't leave father-in-law's care to mother-in-law. I spent about half the week at their house. But father-in-law's condition worsened. Father-in-law, are you okay? Sorry for the trouble. This is my job now. Don't worry. Emily, I'm counting on you for what comes next. Ever since I started taking care of father-in-law, mother-in-law never showed any concern or uttered a caring word. At least she could say something to father-in-law. It's fine. They'll regret it eventually. Maybe, but still. By the way, how's John behaving? Nothing unusual. He might be quiet now, but stay alert. When I went back to get some change of clothes, it seemed John had been waiting for me. How's Dad? He was okay today, but his condition is not great. I see. Why don't you visit him? Now? He'd just complain. Since I started caring for father-in-law, John often asked about his condition. Maybe he was feeling some regret. I had a faint hope that things might change for the better. I just wanted John to become responsible. But then mother-in-law would show up. Mom? Did you say you were coming today? I was nearby. The troublesome person had arrived. Make yourself comfortable. We were about to start cooking. Will Emily cook? Yes, she will. Then I'm looking forward to it. I began preparing, thinking one extra person wouldn't make much difference. Here you go. It doesn't look bad, but how's the taste? Mother-in-law said that and took a bite. To my astonishment, she spat it out immediately. What are you doing? How dare you serve something so terrible? It tastes the same as always to me. Mother-in-law glared at John. Then, my husband quickly changed his opinion and started belittling me, just like my mother-in-law. This tastes like garbage. Maybe you're too focused on Dad's care to cook properly? So rude to spit it out. Enough. Let's go eat out, John. Yeah, let's do that. The two of them stood up and left the house. John couldn't stand up to his mother. I felt foolish for hoping he'd change. No time for hesitation now. John returned alone after 2 hours. Where's mother-in-law? She's gone home. I see. What was earlier about? What? Changing your opinion based on mother-in-law's mood. I always thought that way. I realized it was time to set things straight. Then prepare your own meals from now on. Especially if it's that bad. Seriously? Of course. I went back to care for father-in-law. It was after about 3 months of living like this. Father-in-law's condition suddenly worsened, and we rushed him to the hospital. Hang in there, father-in-law. I might not last much longer. Don't say that. There's something I need to tell you. Remember the inheritance talk? I've written a will. A lawyer will contact you after I pass. Please, don't talk anymore. His pulse weakened on the way to the hospital. By the time we arrived at the hospital, he had completely stopped breathing. I was in shock, unable to think. With trembling hands, I desperately made a phone call. I tried calling mother-in-law, but she didn't answer. John picked up after 4 attempts. What's wrong? Father-in-law has passed away. What? He's dead. Mother-in-law is there with you, right? Yeah. Let me talk to her. Mother-in-law took the phone. What? Father-in-law just passed away. Oh, is that so? That's all you have to say? What else? We're free from him now. I've never felt such strength in my fists before. So you say. But you'll regret it. I doubt that. Neither of them came to the hospital that day. I returned to my in-laws' house, spending the night there. The next day, they were already at the hospital. Mama, I'm tired. Yes, let's go home. I couldn't help but wonder what I was being made to witness. The death of my father-in-law might have triggered the release of emotions and feelings my husband had been harboring until now. This revealed the true nature of my husband. You just got here? What? I'm here, no complaints. What's with John? It's just the usual. I definitely prefer it this way. We've got nothing to fear now. Don't defy me. What? This was the moment I considered divorce. Mother-in-law led a simple funeral for father-in-law. It was what's known as a family funeral, a decision driven by mother-in-law's reluctance to spend money. Even in death, father-in-law was disregarded, which pained me deeply. After the funeral, I returned home. It was the most unpleasant funeral I had ever experienced. From then on, I lived with a heavy heart. Hello? Yes, this is me. A lawyer? A person claiming to be a lawyer contacted me. There, I remembered father-in-law's words. The ones he had spoken to me in the ambulance. I understand. I'll be there shortly. I went to the lawyer's office where father-in-law's will was opened. He had left a notarized will. The contents were shocking, and I thought they could be used for revenge against my husband and mother-in-law. When I got home, my husband approached me aggressively. "Hey! You ignored a call from Mom, didn't you?" "What? I didn't ignore any call. Don't lie. She complained to me that you didn't answer." I thought, here we go again. My husband said this, but I never received a phone call from my mother-in-law. Not once since we got married. I disliked my mother-in-law. He doted on my husband all the time, leaving me feeling excluded. Should I show you the proof? Just apologize to her directly next time. Directly? Your parents' house is quite far, isn't it? Don't worry about that. My husband chuckled. What's so funny? Actually, Mom is coming here tomorrow. We'll be together all the time from now on. Hearing this, I accidentally dropped and shattered a glass I was washing. Tragically, the glass made a loud crashing sound as it shattered. It was one of my favorites. Such a sudden announcement. The room isn't even ready. What about your room? The study that you barely use? Why does it have to be my room? Anyway, clean up before Mom arrives. You can even throw stuff out if you want. I was confused by my husband's words. Just having read father-in-law's will, my mind wasn't working properly. What's the reason? What reason? There's no reason. I just want to be with Mom. I was speechless. What's with this Mom? Such a mama's boy. I realized how much father-in-law had been a buffer for us. However, I never imagined they would take action so quickly. Shouldn't you discuss this with me first? Why do I need to consult you? This is our house. This house was inherited by me. Stop nagging. Just do as I say. I realized talking to my husband was pointless. His mind was filled with thoughts of his mother. If that's the case, I have my own plans too. If that's what you want, I'll do it. It's okay to empty it, right? That's what I've been saying. Don't make me repeat myself. Don't you understand? Just confirming. 7 seconds later, I made a phone call to a certain place. It is a demolition company. Yes, that's right. As soon as possible, please. What are you talking about? Tomorrow is fine. Thank you. Are you listening to me? What? Who did you call? I'm thinking of selling some unwanted stuff. That call. Sounds like a good idea. I couldn't believe how foolish he was. Despite it being completely untrue. Just to be sure, I made a suggestion to my husband. I'll be cleaning up, so why don't you go pick up your mother? But she's coming tomorrow, right? Come back with her then. She'll be happy, I'm sure. Sometimes you do say the right things. I can't stay here. I gotta go. With my husband out of the house, everything was set. Just wait and see. First, I packed my belongings. Then, I had all of John's sellable items taken away by a recycling company. After tidying up the room, I visited a real estate agent. Since the inheritance procedures would take some time, I decided to rent another house for the time being. How about this place? If you sign the contract today, you can move in tomorrow. Then I'll take this room, please. Understood. Now, about the contract. After successfully completing the contract, I returned home. It was my last day in this house. Today marks my farewell to this house. It was the home my father left for me, but I needed to show those two the consequences of their actions. I will surely build another house here one day. So, I spent one last night in the house. By morning, I had moved all my belongings to my new home, and the demolition of the old house began. I checked on the demolition before heading to my new place. All that was left was to wait for a call from the two of them. About 2 hours later, it came. Hello? Hey! What's happening? What's wrong? The house is being demolished. Mom's stuff is about to arrive. Is that so? Explain yourself. All right, wait there. I'll come over. I went to where they were waiting. Upon spotting me, my husband hurried over. Why is the house being demolished? It's revenge, John. It was also father-in-law's wish. Don't talk nonsense. This house is mine. I can do whatever I want with it. Then, my mother-in-law tried to attack me. Please stop. How dare you? Now we have nowhere to live. That's for you to figure out. Mom, we might have to go back to our family home. Regrettably, that's our only option. I decided to play my final card. I think you should reconsider that. What are you talking about? That's right. Just look at this. I showed them father-in-law's will. What is this? It can't be true. It's not a lie. This is the will father-in-law left. The will specified the transfer of rights to the family house from my father-in-law to me. It was also written that I would inherit any remaining savings that my father-in-law had left behind. Hold on. There's a reserved portion of the inheritance, right? We're still entitled to some money. How unfortunate for you. You think I'd give you everything? But the remaining inheritance is only $20,000? What? That means $5,000 each for you. That can't be. There should be more. Please accept it. It's the truth. Father-in-law had anticipated this. In addition to the will, there was a letter addressed to me, and it revealed something crucial. Father-in-law had left only a minimal amount of money, donating the rest to charitable organizations. If that's okay with you, I'll make sure to give you your share. What will you do? They remained silent. You should think about not returning to the family home for now. Maybe you should start looking for a new place soon? This woman. My mother-in-law tried to grab me again, but dramatically fell over. It's really unfortunate it had to come to this. But it can't be helped, right? If only you had thought more about your husband, none of this would have happened. I left them sitting there and walked away. I was unable to suppress a smile thinking about their future. Now, only the final step remained. Back in my new home, I immediately prepared the divorce papers. Then, please take care of it for me. Thank you. I believe the inheritance procedures will be completed by next week. Okay, please keep handling it. A week later, the divorce was finalized. They were making a fuss about the inheritance, but it was too late for that. The reserved share was just a small amount, and knowing them, they would probably spend it quickly. Having completed the inheritance process, I went to the family house to dispose of my mother-in-law's belongings. There, I found my ex-husband and mother-in-law. What are you doing here? They turned to look at me. What are you doing here? I'm clearing out someone's stuff. You can't do that. But this house is officially mine now. So please leave quickly. Wait. Can't you reconsider? What? There's no way I can do that now. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. We're strangers now. Police? Mom, let's just go. Wait. This is my house. Let go. Come on. Thus, they hurriedly left the family house. I doubt they will come back after this. Then, I cleaned up the house, leaving only what belonged to my late father-in-law. I'm sure this would bring him peace. Really? Is that true? Yes, it seems so. I heard it's even become a neighborhood rumor. It seems that my ex-husband and mother-in-law are now living modestly in a small apartment. Apparently, they often fight so loudly that it can be heard even from outside. They were labeled as the neighborhood's troublesome duo. What a foolish pair they are. I never want to deal with such a mama's boy again. As for me, I continue to live in my new rented room. I couldn't bear to live in the house with such unpleasant memories. So I decided to keep it under father-in-law's watch for now. It's time for me to move forward for myself. I've been on the receiving end of verbal abuse from my stepson, Alex, who is my husband Mark's child from a previous marriage. I've kept it to myself, not wanting to upset Mark. One day, when I flew back to my hometown, Mark got stuck at work and couldn't pick me up, so Alex came instead. But when he arrived at the airport, his response to my thanks was harsh. "I just can't do this." "What?" "Just seeing your face makes me sick. Breathing the same air as you feel like it could lead to a disaster. And the idea of my car smelling like an old lady, no way." He taunted me with a smirk. "If you buy me a new car, I might let you ride. But you don't have that kind of money, do you? You're just a parasite living off my dad." Grinning, Alex continued. "Parasites like you can't ride in my car. Walk home, it's only a 3-hour walk." "All right." As Alex walked away, I felt a wave of anger. "Watch out. You'll see what happens when you mock me. I'm Emily, a housewife who married Mark, a colleague, 10 years ago. We met when I transferred from the accounting department to sales administration, where Mark worked. We grew close working together and he proposed 2 years later. It was like a dream, but I didn't answer right away. It is because Mark was a widower and a single father with a young son, Alex. He had been raising Alex with the help of his parents. I carefully tried to bond with Alex by having meals together and going to amusement parks and animated movies. Alex was a quiet and unfriendly kid. It was hard to believe that such a cold and aloof child was the child of gentle and generous Mark. But I knew it must be hard for a boy at his age to warm up to a new mom. I decided to think, if Alex rejects me, we'll drop the talk of marriage. Surprisingly, Alex accepted me. "I don't dislike my new mom," he said shyly. So, Mark and I got married, and the three of us started our life together. Little did I know, problems were just around the corner. After a while, Mark hesitantly asked me, "Emily, would it be too hard to switch to part-time work?" "Why?" "Well, Alex has been feeling lonely in the evenings. He wants you to come home earlier." I knew that before we got married since Mark had told me that Alex had stopped going to school recently. He would participate in events but otherwise stayed at home. Alex never answered the reason. Neither Alex's friend nor anyone else could answer Mark's question. Mark and I read books about truancy and attended lectures, trying to figure out how to be supportive parents. We secretly hoped he'd go back to school, even after starting middle school. The hardest part is for him. I hope he can go back to school soon. I was told by Mark, and we decided to watch over him warmly together. That's when Mark suggested I work part-time. So, I talked to my workplace and shifted from full-time to part-time. Maybe Alex felt left out being home alone, I thought. But then, Alex's attitude towards me changed drastically. It seemed like he waited for me to come home just to complain. "What's with today's lunch? Just leftovers and microwave meals? Isn't it normal to cook from scratch?" "I'm sorry, I didn't have time." "Oh, I'll make your lunchbox, the same one with mine. You can just heat it up." "Look, another shortcut. You could just come home during your lunch break and cook. I want fresh meals." As I struggled to respond, Alex smirked at me maliciously. "A mother should be able to do at least that." "All right, I got it." It takes 40 minutes to drive back and forth to work. My lunch break is just an hour. Even if I wake up early to prep, I end up with no time to eat my own lunch if I cook for him. Yet, I continued to sacrifice my break time to make Alex's lunch, hoping to make him happy. But instead of appreciating it, Alex frequently criticized me. "Can't you make the fried rice fluffier? It's nothing like the restaurants." Well, they are professionals, after all. Alex overheard and scolded me. "There you go making excuses again. Dad has to work to earn money, but you're just living off him. If you can't do the household chores properly, what are you good for?" "Sorry, you're right." Alex's smug smile widened. He also nitpicked over the cleaning and laundry, following me around as I vacuumed, making a fuss over a single hair on the floor or a slight wrinkle on a shirt. Is this how you think you're doing housework? Dad's too kind, but you're just slacking off. Do it properly. I bit my lip. Despite never lifting a finger to help, all he did was complain. As I stayed silent, Alex frowned in annoyance. What's with that look? If you have a problem, tell Dad. I'll make sure he knows you're verbally abusing me. When it was just the two of us, Alex would act arrogantly, but in front of Mark, he'd play the hypocrite. He never dared to behave like this in front of his father. Quiet and gentle? Far from it. Alex was mean-spirited and twisted. My dislike for him grew stronger every day. I worried about his future with such a character, then I realized something. Alex's tone was just like my in-laws. They've disliked me since the beginning of our marriage. I remember once, when we dined out with them. I gently corrected Alex for eating loudly. After the dining finished, Mark left for the restroom. Once Mark left, my in-laws lashed out at me. You're just Mark's wife, not Alex's mother. How dare you scold him? You're a century too early to give opinions to Mark and Alex. Just silently take care of them. I still remember how Alex smirked beside his yelling grandmother. After Alex's mother passed away, my in-laws often came over to take care of young Alex instead of busy Mark. It was inevitable that he absorbed their views. I wondered if he spoke harshly to his friends too. Was his inability to fit in at school the reason he couldn't attend? My suspicions grew, but then I discovered a shocking truth. Alex wasn't unable to go to school. He didn't go because he didn't want to. I realized this when I overheard a conversation between Alex and his friend. I had come home early from work due to a fever. Although I had come home early from work due to a fever, I decided to make Alex's lunch, so I made pancakes and salad and delivered them to his room. As I was about to knock on his door, I heard him through it. While the others are bored in class, I'm leveling up and getting stronger. Gotta grab the best items. I listened as Alex laughed. I'm gonna ask Dad for a new game console and the latest game release. He thinks I'm distracting myself from the sadness of not going to school with games. Hilarious, right? I skip school because I want to play games. What an idiot. Unaware that I was listening, Alex cheerfully continued the conversation. My mom? She's convenient for doing chores. And when I'm annoyed, I can take it out on her. Lucky she married into this family. I felt dizzy. Thinking back, Alex's room was always filled with the sounds of video games. I couldn't believe Alex was skipping school just to play video games. Mark had set a daily limit on his gaming time. So, by the time Mark gets home, Alex is always watching TV in the living room, pretending to be keeping his promise on the surface. It must be because his grandparents let him play games as much as he wanted from a young age. When I burst into Alex's room, he looked startled and hurriedly hung up the phone. Don't eavesdrop. I tried to stay calm as I spoke to him. Why don't you tell the truth? Mark is really worried about you. He thinks something happened at school. Alex glared at me. Leave me alone. Dad's just too serious about everything. He'd definitely forbid gaming. If you won't tell him, I will. Angry, Alex suddenly seemed to get an idea, smirking at me. He fiddled with his phone and then showed it to me triumphantly. Think you can go against me? I'll tell Dad you're cheating on him. I was taken aback by what appeared on the screen. It showed a scene of me having dinner with a male acquaintance at a high-end restaurant. I followed you secretly the other day. You were meeting your lover, weren't you? I quickly thought it through. If Alex showed this to Mark and shared his thoughts, it seemed likely to create a rift between father and son. I haven't betrayed Mark. Liar. I see through everything. I sighed and shrugged. Fine. I won't tell him. But you should, when you get the chance. Tell him you don't want to go to school, not that you can't. But my words seemed to have no effect on Alex. Since then, his rudeness only escalated. He either blatantly ignored me or showered me with sarcastic remarks. After Alex entered middle school, his attitude towards me became exclusively one of two things. You only know how to do housework, parasite. You married dad for his money, right? Women have it easy. Just charm a rich guy, get married, and then you can live leisurely. Cheating on dad with his money, that's the lowest. Ever think about who's providing for this house? When Alex entered middle school, we sold our apartment and moved to a suburban house. I hoped that his temper would mellow out a bit, but my expectations were disappointed. After all, he hardly went to school and ended up studying at an online high school. After graduating, he didn't get a regular job. He just took occasional part-time work when he felt like it. I had tried hard to bond with Alex early in our marriage, but I eventually gave up. I learned to ignore his insults when Mark wasn't around. One day, Mark came home from work and mentioned, "Alex wants to get his driver's license." I told him to save up his part-time earnings for it. Maybe having a goal will motivate him to work harder. He might even get a regular job once he's used to working. A few days after this hopeful conversation, my MIL arrived unannounced, grinning as she told Mark, "I took care of the driving school enrollment for Alex." What? Once he gets his license, I'll buy him a new car. It'll be fun. Don't make decisions like that. I told him he had to pay for it with his part-time earnings. Mark, unusually agitated, was met with a nonchalant response from his mother. "Alex needs our help, his salary isn't much. It's only right to support him." Mark, perhaps thinking it futile, stopped protesting further. As expected, Alex didn't work and instead went to driving school. After getting his license, he had his grandmother buy him a foreign car, which he used to drive around and boast to his friends. Like Mark, I lost the will to advise either my MIL or Alex, secretly just hoping he wouldn't cause any accidents. When I was accustomed to Alex's driving, I flew to my hometown to attend a friend's wedding. The next day, while on my way back by plane, I received a message from Mark. "Sorry. A mistake by one of my subordinates came up, and I have to work overtime. I don't know what time I'll be able to come home. I'm not good at driving." I had always asked Mark for a ride because I wasn't confident about making the round trip to and from the downtown airport. "It's okay, I'll catch a taxi," I replied. "It's too far to walk from the station to our house, especially after the last bus has gone." Then Mark sent an unexpected response. "Alex will come to pick you up at the airport. You don't like taxis, right?" I hesitated for a moment. "He's coming to pick me up? That's nice, but the idea of being alone in the car with him is suffocating." "Alex wants to show off his driving skills." I chuckled softly. "He does have his endearing moments." "Then maybe I'll take him up on his offer." "That's a good idea. I'll let Alex know." Shortly after, a message from Alex came through. "Wait in the lobby." It was a curt message, but I was happy. Maybe this would be a chance to close the gap between us. Eventually, the plane landed at the airport. I collected my baggage and headed to the lobby, pulling my suitcase. When I saw Alex in the distance, I stood up. "Thank you for coming to get me." As I thanked him, Alex smirked. "I just can't do this." "What?" I asked cautiously. "Is it because you drive roughly or something? I'm bad at driving too, so it's okay." "No, you idiot." Alex twisted his mouth. "Just seeing your face makes me feel sick. Breathing the same air seems like it could cause an accident. And the idea of my precious car smelling like an old lady, no way." As I looked confused, he continued. "If you buy me a new car, I might let you ride. But you can't afford it, right? You're just a parasite living off my dad." Grinning, Alex added, "Parasites like you can't ride. Walk home. It's only a 3-hour walk." I stared at Alex's face. It took a while to comprehend his words. "Hey, did you get that? Is your brain okay?" "Yeah." "Oh, and don't tell Dad. Just say you walked home for exercise. Maybe this will help you lose some weight. You should thank me." Laughing loudly, Alex walked away. As I watched his fading back, intense anger rose within me. I had been enduring this, not wanting to upset Mark or ruin their father-son relationship. But I've reached my limit. Just watch. He'll see what happens when he mocks me. Walking home for 3 hours in the middle of the night is too much. I don't like it, but I'll take a taxi home. About 10 minutes into my walk to the taxi stand, my phone rang. It was Alex. I ignored the call, but as soon as it went to voicemail, he called again. He kept calling persistently. The echoing ring in the empty hallway was so loud that I finally gave in and answered. Hello. Don't ignore me, answer quickly. What? If it's nothing, I'm hanging up. What did you tell Dad? Alex sounded almost hysterical. He must have really upset Mark. I just told him about your behavior. You had no business doing that. Where are you? On my way to the taxi stand. Then wait there. I'm coming to pick you up. No need to trouble yourself. Oh, you've hung up. I was uneasy about facing Alex again, but going home alone might make things worse. Reluctantly, I waited at the taxi stand, and this time, we went back together. Strangely, my FIL's car was in the parking lot. Why so late? I wondered, entering the house to find Mark greeting me at the entrance. His gentle smile was comforting. Welcome home, Emily. I'm back. Is my FIL here? I called my parents. I know you're tired, but after you've put your suitcase in the bedroom and changed, could you come to the living room? I want to have a family meeting with them. Mark's serious face conveyed his firm resolve. I left my suitcase in the bedroom, changed, and headed to the living room where my in-laws were waiting. Right off the bat, my MAL started yelling. Why call elderly parents at this hour? Surely Emily told you to do this. Such a poorly mannered DIL. Exactly. There are better choices at work. Why did you marry someone like her, Mark? How long are you going to be under her thumb? My in-laws' insults made Mark's face darken. They had always behaved themselves in front of Mark. This was the first time they openly badmouthed me in his presence. Stop speaking ill of Emily. Mark said, his voice restrained, staring down his parents. I'm sorry for calling you so late, but I needed to talk tonight. Facing Alex and my in-laws, Mark and I sat on the sofa, beginning to talk with stern expressions. I asked Alex to pick Emily up from the airport, and he readily agreed. But then he said, Emily's taking a taxi home. She really said that? I called Emily, and she said she was left at the airport. Is that what you're upset about? My MIL laughed, shrugging. She should have just walked home. She'd have made it by morning. Exactly. She's just a DIL. Who does she think she is asking for a pickup? Alex and my in-laws exchanged nods, but Mark's eyes narrowed. He calmly placed his phone on the living room table and spoke firmly. The real issue is this image Emily sent me. My in-laws and Alex looked at the phone and instantly paled. When did you? Alex looked at his grandparents begging for help, but my in-laws just turned their faces away, remaining silent. Displayed on Mark's phone were messages between Alex and my in-laws. Alex, I heard from Mark you can't go to school. Are you unwell somewhere? Grandpa, Grandma, don't worry. I'm not going to school not because I can't, but because I don't want to. I mean, if I go to school, I can't play games, right? Well, that's it then. We thought Alex was just sensitive and found it hard to be with noisy teachers and friends. Don't tell Dad, okay? And, I want to spend money on games, but my allowance isn't enough. Would $20,000 be enough for now? I'll transfer it to your account without letting Mark know. It's natural for a child to play. That's fine. Just relax at home as much as you want. Thanks, you guys really understand. Grandpa, Grandma, thanks a lot. Mark, with a furious expression, and the silent in-laws and Alex listened as I explained. A few years ago, I saw this displayed on Alex's phone when he left it in the living room. I took a photo thinking of consulting Mark, but it was hard to bring up, so I just kept it. I was just a kid, so I didn't put a lock on it. It's the worst to sneak a look at someone's phone. Exactly. What a senseless deal. Who's the unreasonable one here? Mark shouted. With a look of indignation and frustration, he glared at his parents. Why would you give Alex such a large sum of money without consulting me? Well, he said to keep it a secret from you. The in-laws sulked. Giving a little pocket money to a grandchild is fine, right? That's not the point. The issue is the daughter-in-law snooping on Alex's phone. She's a stranger. I fought back against my outraged in-laws, my words laced with anger. Oh really? Then let's report Alex to the police for borrowing money without permission from a stranger. What? I operated my phone again and showed them a different image. It was a credit card statement I had previously photographed. Alex was the only one showing panic among the puzzled faces. $10,000 for game charges? Emily, what is this? Yes. That's the money Alex borrowed from me without permission. Nonsense! Alex wouldn't do such a thing! My MAL exclaimed, then covered her mouth in haste. Seeing Alex's pale face, it seemed they realized the truth. I was shocked when I checked my account balance and found it almost empty. I shrugged my shoulders. The statement showed it was all used for game content. Alex, you registered my card number for your online game payments without permission. We usually use Emily's card for household electronics. It's in the drawer of the bedroom with the PIN written down so I can use it immediately, as I tend to forget the numbers. Mark added. I never thought Alex would use it without permission. And why would you do such a thing when it's obviously going to be discovered? It's not a big deal, we're family. Alex yelled in frustration. The in-laws joined in. What's wrong with giving $10,000? It's nothing. Yeah, why does a daughter-in-law have to make such a fuss? You spoil Alex by letting him get away with everything. That's why he's become so self-centered. Mark raised his voice. He stood up impatiently, glaring at his parents and Alex. I appreciate you looking after Alex when I was busy with work. But it's wrong to give him lots of money and let him do whatever he wants. Alex, aren't you going to show any remorse for using your parents' money? The in-laws and Alex exchanged glances, their lips pursed in dissatisfaction. It's unfair to be criticized for spoiling our grandson. If there's a problem with Alex's upbringing, it's the mother's fault. Children learn by watching their mother. The DIL's upbringing is inadequate. Exactly, Emily, take responsibility. Pointed at by my FIL, I was speechless. My anger turned into laughter. There was nothing but to do so. Is it my responsibility, then? But it's true, isn't it? Suddenly, I noticed Mark's eyes glaring fiercely, his fists clenched in anger. Both of you always have so much to say. Emily married me, a man with a child, on her first marriage. Do you know what kind of resolve she had to come into this family? Mark. Everyone should be more grateful to Emily. Then, Alex, who had been silent with his mouth turned down at the corners, suddenly looked up as if he had an idea. With a smirking face, he addressed Mark. Dad, you really trust this Emily, huh? Of course. Annoyed, Mark responded, and Alex, with a full smile, proclaimed. This woman, she's been cheating. Yeah, maybe she still is. What? Cheating? I knew it, I had a feeling. Such a worthless woman. The in-laws became excited. Do you have proof? Of course. Just wait. As Mark frowned skeptically, Alex scrolled through his phone, hurrying to find the so-called proof. Ah, found it. Let's see. The in-laws peered eagerly at the screen. Alex, sitting back smugly and with a look of triumph, declared confidently. I'm smart, so I kept the photo from that time. Good job, Alex. Raphael condescendingly addressed Mark. You see now? Get rid of such a woman. If you need a wife just for housekeeping, you can find another. That's right. She should be grateful just to be in this house, but instead, she's acting like a mother. So annoying. Yeah. You're living off Dad and yet have the nerve to cheat, shameless. Alex joined in angrily. Dad, you really lack judgment. Next time you marry, find someone younger, prettier, and more obedient. 50-something, ordinary-looking, and sorry for being defiant. My anger boiled. So, get out, cheating woman. This is mine and Dad's house. I'm not cheating. I looked up at Mark, who seemed to understand and nodded. Peering at Alex's phone, then meeting my gaze, Mark sighed deeply. Alex, you followed Emily? Yeah. She dressed up and went out, not acting her age. It was a yearly dinner with a friend. Right, cheating with a man. A what? Confused, Alex and the in-laws looked at Mark, who wore a stern expression. December 20th, at the restaurant near the station. An old friend of mine, who works abroad, comes home for Christmas, so we eat together every year. He's been my friend for years and Emily's college classmate. It's only me and him in the photo, but Mark joined us after work. See, it's a table for 4. Oh, it's true. The in-laws scrutinized the phone screen, then glanced at Alex. Seriously? I kind of remember this guy. He's Dad's friend? Alex scratched his head and laughed it off. However, his complaints towards me didn't seem to end, and he pointed at me, hurling more insults. But still, she's living off Dad's money, right? Dad's paying the house loan too. Mael joined in. That's right. And yet she acts so high and mighty. Who does she think she is? I've never once thought of her as a mother. I actually wanted to oppose the marriage, but she forced her way into our house. No, you accepted me, and that's why we got married. What are you saying now? It's obvious she married Mark for his money. Mark, wake up. You're being deceived. Mark shrugged off his clinging mother and firmly stated. Alex asked for her to come home early, so she switched to part-time work. Have you forgotten? Was that so? I feel guilty for leaving all the household work to Emily while I'm busy with work. And you, who hardly works and just plays games at home, have no right to say anything. Mark glared sternly at Alex. Thanks to Emily, we can live in this spacious house. Be grateful to her. What? This house was bought by Emily. Alex's eyes widened. What do you mean? When Alex was struggling with school and staying at home, Emily suggested moving to a suburban house from our apartment near the station, thinking you would be more comfortable. Alex was speechless as Mark turned to him. Emily asked me to keep it a secret, not wanting to make you uncomfortable. But I should have told you sooner. Alex's face turned pale. Technically, it's Emily's and my house, since I contribute to the expenses too. By the way, Alex, have you paid even a penny towards living expenses since you started working? Wait, you're not telling Alex to leave, are you? The in-laws and Alex panicked. Emily, the cheating thing was just a misunderstanding, and we didn't know this house was bought by you. Right, Alex? Yeah, if you bought it, I don't need to leave. Alex smiled ingratiatingly at me. Let's forget about the past and get along, Mom. We're family, after all. Please forgive me. Looking forward to being with you. He smiled, trying to cozy up to me, but Mark finally lost his temper. How dare you say such shameless things? Mark's bellow made the in-laws and Alex tremble. If you care so much about Alex, then live with him. I refuse to take care of him any longer. From today, I cut ties with you. Don't ever show your faces again. You're so cold-hearted, Mark. You used to be so kind, but you've completely changed because of your wife. A father, yet so heartless. Mark glanced coldly at his lamenting in-laws. All right. Alex, come live with us from today. We'll live together. Thanks, Grandpa. Dad, you'll regret being so cold to your precious heir. Complaining, the in-laws and Alex left our house. Living with them, Alex's self-centeredness seemed to exasperate his elderly grandparents. Despite living with his elderly grandparents, Alex doesn't help with any household chores at all. Alex spends more time playing games than working, and when his part-time job earnings run out, he pesters his pension-living grandparents for pocket money. Mark, maybe you should take Alex back? Parents should take care of their children. Our pension and savings are getting devoured by Alex. Please, take him back. Later, the in-laws called Mark, begging him to take Alex back, but Mark immediately blocked their number. Half a year passed, and the $10,000 Alex had used from my account still hadn't been returned. When I contacted Alex, his response was astonishing. We're family, so it's not a crime. Don't you know that? It might not be a criminal offense, but I can sue you in civil court. What? You didn't know? If you don't pay, I'll take you to court. Perhaps scared by my threat, the next day $10,000 was deposited into my account. Of course, Alex didn't have that kind of money, so it seems his grandparents covered the cost for him. However, Alex had no intention of repaying them and continued to laze around at his parents' home without working. This caused even more strife between Alex and his grandparents. Recently, Alex and Raphael have been having big fights every day. Their quarrels have become so loud and frequent that the neighbors often call the police, and now the family is considered a nuisance in the neighborhood. A month after Mark kicked Alex out, Mark and I celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary at the restaurant where he had proposed, toasting with wine. I'm sorry, Emily, for all the hardship. Mark, you're still apologizing? It's okay now. Smiling, I reassured him, and Mark spoke in a soft tone. I had an inkling that Alex and my parents didn't think highly of you. I optimistically thought they'd warm up to you eventually. I never imagined they'd hurl such terrible insults at you. Thanks to you standing up for me, I feel relieved. Thank you. Mark immediately retorted as I expressed my gratitude with a smile. Of course. I should have cut ties with them sooner. I wanted to get along with your family. It's a pity. What are you saying? You are much more important to me. I was warmed by Mark's kind words and gentle smile. I felt grateful to be married to him. Though I never managed to connect with Alex and the in-laws, I resolved to continue growing old with Mark. Tim's baby turned 1 month old, and a celebration was planned. I was invited to Lily's family home. He's adorable, like an angel, I commented. As I reached out to touch the baby's tiny fist, Lily yelled, Don't touch the baby, stranger. I was shocked and retracted my hand, protesting. I'm Tim's mother, his grandmother. So? Lily chuckled. To me, you're a stranger. Once I get your gift, you're useless. How could you? With your shabby deli, I doubt I'll need your help anymore. So, let's cut ties after today. Don't ever show that gloomy face again. We don't want poverty rubbing off on our family. I was stunned, but quickly responded with a smile. All right. Left in the foyer. I made a silent vow. If that's how you want to play it, I have plans too. You'll regret this later. I'm Rachel, a 55-year-old housewife. After my husband passed away when my son, Tim, started elementary school, I resolved to work harder to support his education. Quitting my part-time job, I used the money my husband left to start a small deli. Thanks to my relentless work, the deli gradually took off, and I could afford to send Tim to college. When Tim was young, I was too busy to enjoy leisure activities like other families. We hardly had the luxury of visiting amusement parks or spending weekends in the park. Sometimes I felt like a failure for not spending enough time with him, but Tim grew up to be considerate, which was a relief. After landing a job at a major corporation, Tim moved out to live on his own. Still, he lived nearby in the city, so he'd visit with a smile on his face during long weekends. When he got comfortable with his job, he called to introduce someone special. However, when he brought home the lady, I felt a mix of happiness and anxiety. She was the daughter of the locally famous company. I braced myself, thinking she wanted Tim to be her successor, but her cousin was already set to take over the business. After graduating from a prestigious university, Lily was currently helping with housework at her family home. "Nice to meet you. Let's get along well." She greeted me enthusiastically, shaking my hand vigorously. I could tell she was well raised by her dining manners and behavior, but her unrestrained and flashy personality made me feel we wouldn't get along. Nevertheless, I wanted to have a good relationship with Tim's choice and tried to get close. My efforts were soon disregarded after their marriage. Lily was talkative and bright, but her conversations were mostly gossip about neighbors, celebrity news, and bad-mouthing acquaintances. The biggest issue was her timing of visits. She would show up unannounced just when I returned from work and started cooking dinner. Naturally, I had to invite her to join us. I don't have any morning sickness, so I can eat anything. Even beer is okay. You shouldn't drink alcohol while pregnant. Really? I was feeling worried about her lack of awareness and prenatal knowledge. When I first received the news that Lily was pregnant, I was as happy as if it were about my own situation. However, it seems that Lily lacks the awareness and understanding appropriate for a pregnant woman, with little to no preparatory knowledge on the matter. Despite claiming she could eat anything, she was quite picky. She disliked fish for its smell and only accepted certain brands of meat. For dessert, she demanded fruits like grapes or melon from specific farmers. Moreover, after finishing dinner, she'd give me a rating. 65 points. Not too impressive, 93 points, could use more spice, 100 points today. Amazing, you passed. Congratulations. With a broad smile, she'd give her verdict, and I'd force a smile in response. "Lily, why do you always rate the meals?" I asked once. With a beaming smile, she replied, "I'm making you my practice subject. If you can't satisfy a daughter-in-law, your deli might go under. I've been running it for 20 years in a prime location near the station." I replied sarcastically, but it didn't seem to register. Businesses can fail in an instant. I don't want to take care of an unemployed mother-in-law. So, you better keep it up. Though I was only 55, she treated me like an elderly person. While she didn't seem to mean harm, her condescending remarks were irritating. With such exchanges 4 to 5 times a week, I was worn out. Moreover, using her pregnancy as an excuse, she wouldn't even clear the dishes after eating and would just lounge on the couch with her phone. When I tried to relax with a canned drink and TV, she'd complain. "How terrible of you, drinking in front of me. Is this some kind of harassment? Please go to your room. I just want to enjoy a drink while watching a TV drama. You can watch it on your phone. Really, you're so inconsiderate. I wanted to watch it on a big screen, not a tiny one. Why do I have to put up with such treatment from my daughter-in-law?" When my irritation reached its peak, Lily would pack up Tim's dinner in containers and leave with a smile. Exhausted, I'd take a shower early and rest in bed. Out of curiosity, I once asked what they did for weekend dinners. She nonchalantly replied they got by with delivery or ready-made food. "I'm not good at housework. But I want Tim to eat delicious meals. It would be great if you could cook for us on weekends too." I ignored her audacious request. "It's nice that you visit, Lily, but I'm tired from work too. Maybe we could limit it to once a week?" When I couldn't take it anymore and called Tim to complain, this was his response. "Lily is having terrible morning sickness and can't do anything around the house. I'm swamped with overtime work, and I can only help out with household chores on weekends. She's mostly lying down at your place, right?" "What?" "I feel relieved knowing you're looking after Lily. She must be anxious about her first pregnancy, so I hope you can overlook any rudeness." "Okay, I understand. It seems Lily is playing the role of a frail pregnant woman in front of Tim. I strongly wished I could show him how she lounges on the sofa, watching videos and laughing heartily. But if I did that, kind-hearted Tim would be disappointed and feel sorry for me. Lily knows I won't do such a thing, and that's why she's taking advantage of me. This aspect of her is particularly irritating. Although I find Lily challenging, I am excited about the arrival of my grandchild and want to maintain a good relationship with Tim, just like before. Therefore, I decided not to interfere too much and to warmly watch over my son and his wife. Instead, I accompanied Lily to buy baby supplies, prenatal checkups, dedicating myself to carrying her bags. As a grandmother, I was eager to help in any way I could. However, Lily's behavior became increasingly arrogant day by day. Recently, she even started ordering large furniture online right in front of me. "What do you think of this?" "But it's expensive." "Shall I buy it for you?" That was my mistake. Afterwards, she began to demand expensive baby items one after another. Imported goods are more stylish, right? It would be so amazing to have a matching set. "Lily, why don't you consider renting items that will only be used for a short time? There are also affordable and sturdy domestic brands." I inadvertently blurted out, to which Lily glared at me. "Don't you want to give your grandchild the best? There's no end if you always look at the most expensive options. Basically, you just don't want to spend money, right?" Ugh, how annoying. My parents would easily shell out like $20,000 without a second thought. I thought to myself, why not ask your parents then? But she seemed to have no intention of relying on them. "Saving money won't do you any good when you're gone. Let's just splurge." Her rude words left me speechless. I was so angry, I almost yelled back, "Mind your own business." But I couldn't. It would be unfair to put Tim in the middle of this. Trying to remain calm, I said, "Anyway, use rentals for things that can be rented. There's a limit to my savings." "Fine," Lily replied, visibly displeased. My relief at her agreement was short-lived. That evening, Tim called me. "Did Lily ask you to buy a bunch of baby stuff?" "Yes, she did." "I'm sorry. I thought she was using the money I gave her to buy those things." I was surprised when I noticed an influx of high-end baby clothes and toys. I could sense Tim's confusion over the phone. "She's spent quite a bit, hasn't she? Should I pay you back?" "No, it's okay, I was planning to buy some things anyway." "I'm really sorry. Lily was hoping for a girl, and when we found out at the hospital, she just got carried away." I thought this was more than just getting carried away, but I refrained from criticizing Lily and changed the subject. "It's great that it's a girl, just as she wanted. She's just lost perspective on money because she's from a wealthy family. I'll talk to her about not burdening you anymore." "Thanks, I appreciate it." After hanging up, I sighed deeply. I understand the desire to gather a lot of cute baby items. But a little restraint is common sense. Thankfully, after Tim spoke to her, Lily stopped asking for expensive baby items. I wished she wouldn't come around anymore, but she continued to visit as if nothing happened. Recently, she seems to have shifted her strategy to asking for smaller amounts of money. "You see, I can't work because I'm pregnant and don't have money. But I need to look good, or Tim might lose interest in me. It's okay for someone older like you, but I'm young and want to be loved." Of course, I had no intention of giving her a penny. "Why don't you ask Tim for more allowance? I'm sure he'll listen to you." "I can't do that. It would be like accusing him of not earning enough," Lily retorted while munching on snacks. "Being a manager at a big company at 30, he's earning more than his peers, I think." "But my dad earns more." I almost blurted out, "Then ask your dad for money." But I swallowed those words in desperation. Lily always carries high-brand bags and wears well-tailored maternity clothes. She must be getting plenty of pocket money, yet her wanting more seems too selfish. I don't mean to say that a pregnant woman shouldn't dress up or that a housewife should be frugal. But asking your mother-in-law for money is surely wrong. I felt frustrated, but seeing Lily's heavily pregnant belly, I calmed my anger. I'm about to become a grandmother soon, which feels quite ticklish. I am thankful to Lily for that. When my sister-in-law, Sophia, came to visit over the weekend and I vented to her, she was visibly upset. What a terrible daughter-in-law. She's taking too much advantage of you, Rachel. Tim should really speak up. You think so? I replied with a smile. But I think once the baby is born, her disrespectful attitude towards me will improve. That's not just maternity blues, it's her personality. Don't get your hopes up. Maybe, but Tim and I have a good relationship, and I don't want to cause any trouble between them. Sophia sighed. Don't put up with too much. I'm always here to listen to your complaints, if you need. Thanks, Sophia. I smiled at her. For now, I'll just pray for my grandchild's safe arrival. Soon, Lily gave birth safely. I wanted to meet the baby, but she went to her parents' house right after being discharged from the hospital, so I decided to wait until Lily's condition improved. Tim, visiting his in-laws after work, sends me daily photos of the baby. I'm filled with anticipation about how adorable the baby will be when I finally meet them. When the baby was about a month old, Tim contacted me. Lily wants to have a baby's welcome party. A welcome party? She wants to invite relatives to her parents' house. Is it okay if we invite our family too? Her dad and the others are up for it. That sounds good. Why not invite the same guests as at the wedding? I'll do that. Then, I'll get in touch with them. My relatives, all living in the county, love celebrations and would be happy to come. As expected, they all responded positively to the invitation. On the day of the event, I arrived a bit early with a birth gift to greet Lily's parents first. When I rang the doorbell of the grand house surrounded by a high fence, the voice of an elderly woman responded. It turned out that a housekeeper was always there since Lily's parents were often away due to work. That must have been the person who answered the call. Lily, in a floral dress, greeted me at the entrance, holding the adorable baby in her arms. Both my parents got called into work unexpectedly and aren't home yet. Busy even on a Sunday. As I was about to enter, greeting her, Lily bluntly asked, "Where's the birth gift?" "Oh, here it is." Handing the baby to the waiting housekeeper, Lily watched intently as I rummaged through my bag. When I handed over the gift, she snatched it and opened it on the spot. She pulled out the contents, her face twisting in displeasure. "That's too little." "Sorry?" "Well, I guess it can't be helped, coming from someone poor." She checked the gift, while the housekeeper stood behind her, holding the baby. The baby yawned adorably in her arms, and I couldn't resist. I approached the housekeeper to get a closer look at the little one. "He's adorable, like an angel," I said as I reached out to the baby's tiny clenched fist. His wet-looking black eyes were fixated on something. "Strangers shouldn't touch the baby." Suddenly, a loud voice startled me, and I retracted my hand. The startled baby began to cry, and the housekeeper, following Lily's command, hurried to soothe him. "Take him to the room, quickly." "Yes, right away." I waited for the housekeeper to take the baby away, then confronted Lily. "I'm Tim's mother, his grandmother." "So?" Lily chuckled. "To me, you're a stranger. I don't need you once I get the gift." "How could you?" "You run that shabby deli. I doubt I'll need your help in the future. So, let's cut ties after today." She shooed me away. "Thanks for coming. You can leave now. Don't show me that gloomy face again. I don't want poverty spreading to our family." I was dumbfounded at first, but quickly responded with a smile. "All right." Lily left me in the entrance and went back inside. Her words kept spinning in my head. I had never felt such humiliation in my life. Why do I have to be spoken to like this by my daughter-in-law? Clenching my fists as if they might shatter, I silently declared war in my heart. If that's the attitude she wants to take, I have plans too. She'll regret this later. When I opened the front door, my relatives were crossing the garden, heading our way. Rachel, are you leaving already? Asked one, looking puzzled. Lily greeted them with a smile. She has something to do today. Dinner will be here soon. You should stay and eat with us. She's in a hurry. Welcome everyone. Tim and his parents will join us shortly. Please make yourselves comfortable until then. Lily invited the relatives inside, closed the front door, and locked it immediately. She's well liked by our family for her good public face. During my husband's memorial service at the deli, she introduced herself to the older men, quickly rising in their esteem with her beauty, wealth, and affable personality. So, no one doubted her words this time. I decided to use my last resort. I headed to a certain place. 2 hours later, I rang Lily's doorbell again. She let me in, whispering discontentedly as I took off my shoes. Why did you come back? I forgot something important. Oh, you brought the rest of the gift, huh? That small amount was quite embarrassing, wasn't it? She said, chuckling. I passed her and headed to the lively voices echoing down the corridor. As I slid open the door to the spacious room, both families were surrounding a large dining table. Tim and Lily's parents were nowhere to be seen, but the table was laden with large platters, and the relatives were happily sharing drinks. Rachel, you're back. Come over here. We have wine too. We can ask the housekeeper to bring them. The relatives beckoned me over. Thanks, Uncle. But before that, I have something I want to present. Oh, what's that? A surprise gift? Lily asked casually. Yes, a surprise. Everyone, please listen. I clapped my hands to silence the chatter, then played a recording from my phone. Strangers shouldn't touch the baby. Lily's angry voice filled the quiet room. That's Lily's voice, isn't it? The room buzzed. I don't need you once I get the gift. You run that shabby deli. I doubt I'll need your help in the future. So, let's cut ties after today. Don't show me that gloomy face again. I don't want poverty spreading to our family. The harsh words were as terrible as ever. It wasn't just me who thought so. The female relatives started criticizing Lily. Even if mother-in-law and daughter-in-law don't get along, this is too much. Rachel, you raised him alone while running a deli. How dare she belittle you like that? What, just because her parents are rich, she acts all high and mighty? What a nasty daughter-in-law. Not only my family, but Lily's relatives also expressed their anger. Saying such things to a mother-in-law is unthinkable. I'm sorry our Lily said that. It's embarrassing for us too. Spoiled as a young lady, but can't she distinguish between what's right and wrong? Such an ill-mannered girl at her age. Feeling the cold stares of the relatives, Lily started to panic. She twitched her cheeks, trying frantically to control the situation. Oh, come on, Rachel, stop joking around. Oh, I get it, you're jealous because Tim always defends me. So, you made this up and played it. Lily covered her face with her hands, starting a fake cry. I've been trying so hard to get along with you, and this is how you treat me? This is terrible. The women looked unimpressed. But the men were easily deceived, looking at each other in confusion. Hey, that's too much. Right, it's unfair to gang up on her. She's crying now. Rachel, what were you thinking? Jealous that Tim prefers Lily? Were you trying to be mean? It's always said that mothers-in-law bully their daughters-in-law. Lily's a good girl, right? Don't harass her like this, Rachel. Lily probably smirked inwardly as the men quickly took her side. Then the women exploded in anger. Good girl? She escaped to another room to avoid helping in the kitchen when we had a gathering at Rachel's. Just ignored us and kept flirting with the men. Exactly. When we all brought homemade dishes, she lied about injuring her hand and brought store-bought food, then bragged that hers was the best. Men are really weak against this type. They have no discernment. The argument turned into a men versus women debate, with Rachel's and Lily's relatives all mixed up. The once lively Japanese room is now filled with an ominous atmosphere. As the housekeeper brought in more beer, looking bewildered, the doorbell rang. Sophia entered the room, guided by the housekeeper, holding a thick, bulging envelope. Lily's eyes lit up at the sight. "Welcome, Sophia. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. Here's the gift." Oops. Sophia accidentally let the envelope slip, scattering its contents on the floor. "Oh no, I forgot to seal it. I'm so sorry." "Huh? Who's that with Lily in these photos?" A relative picked up a photo and murmured suspiciously. Lily turned around in shock. But before she could collect the photos, several relatives grabbed them, exclaiming in horror. "Oh! Isn't this a cheating scene?" The photos were shocking, showing Lily hugging a strange man, kissing him as they got out of a car, and entering a motel. Lily tried to explain in panic. "No, it's not what it looks like. He's just an acquaintance. He loves physical contact. I went into the hotel because he said he felt sick." Her excuses sounded desperate. Even the men who had defended her were now looking at her coldly. Then, as the final blow, Sophia turned on her voice recorder. The conversation between Lily and the man played out. "Soon my child will be born. Can't wait. Just keep quiet about it, Tim will think it's his child. Shame, but it's necessary. Tim's so simple, he thinks you're just a friend. Hilarious. We're the same blood type as Tim, it'll work out. What if the baby looks like you? We'll figure it out." Their laughter ended the recording. Lily, pale-faced, turned to Sophia. "Why do you have this?" "Oh, didn't I say? I'm a detective." Sophia grinned. "Rachel asked me to investigate you. You were spending too much and acting suspicious. And sure enough, it was infidelity. I was going to keep this to myself, not wanting to ruin your marriage. But Lily, you didn't seem to want to change, so I thought it was time for a reality check." Lily glared at Rachel, furious. "It was your doing." As she lunged at Rachel, Sophia quickly grabbed her arm, intervening. Shaking off Sophia's grip, Lily raised her voice. "Listen. Don't tell Tim. If we divorce, it'll be pitiful for the baby. It'll be miserable being abandoned by its father right after birth. You all agree, right?" Her selfish logic was astounding, but desperately, she sought agreement from the relatives. "Tim loves children. If he doesn't know, he'll love this baby. So everyone, keep this a secret, please." A low voice rumbled from the depths of the room, freezing everyone in place, including Lily and me. We all turned toward the sound to see Tim standing in the doorway. Judging by Sophia's expression, it seemed he had sneaked in with her and had been eavesdropping in the hallway. "Tim!" Lily stammered as he approached her. His face was filled with contempt and anger. "Before you got pregnant, Lily, the four of us used to go out for drinks, including that other woman's husband. I never thought you two would meet alone after that. You were both mocking me, weren't you?" "Please, I'm sorry. Don't say we're getting divorced, okay?" Lily begged with a pleading look, but Tim yelled at her. "Of course we're getting divorced. It's not just about me. You insulted my mother too. I can't forgive that." After a tense stare down, Lily finally gave in. "Fine, we'll divorce. But I'm keeping custody of the child. I've always wanted a baby." She stated this defiantly, as if she had done nothing wrong. Everyone watched the exchange between Lily and Tim with bated breath. Lily then spoke dreamily, hands clasped. "The baby will look like me and be incredibly beautiful. I'll dress her in stylish clothes and take her everywhere. Young and beautiful me with my adorable daughter will be like celebrity mother and daughter. She'll definitely be a model or actress one day. I'm so glad I had a daughter." Hey, a child isn't an accessory. Are you raising her just to show off? That's sad for the child. Single motherhood is tough, you know. Can you really handle working and raising a child? I interjected, to which Lily laughed shrilly. Who do you think I am? I'm the daughter of the company. Unlike your deli, I have plenty of money. My parents will help, and with housekeepers and babysitters, I won't have to bother with childcare. I can live leisurely without working. After boasting, she smirked. But being a single parent might be a disadvantage, so I plan to remarry. Maybe an IT company's handsome CEO next time. He'll let me have more freedom. That's the plan, huh, Lily? Sophia called out, and her parents emerged from behind a door, having been hidden all along. Sophia explains to us who are speechless in shock. Actually, Lily's parents also asked me to find out what their daughter was up to. Today, she was hiding under the guise of going to work, so they asked me to uncover her true nature. You wore a cat mask in front of your parents. Lily's parents stepped into the center of the room and apologized to us. Everyone, I apologize for my daughter's behavior. Rachel, Tim, we don't know how to make amends. Lily, pale as a sheet and trembling, looked shocked. Her father sighed deeply. To think my own daughter would repay kindness with such disgrace. But, Dad! Lily turned to him, tears in her eyes. She snuggled up to her father. I was just getting back at Rachel for being mean to me. You believe me, right, Dad? As I opened my mouth to refute, Lily's mother interjected sharply. Don't lie. Rachel would never do such things. Lily's mother looks back at me and declares. As a fan of that shop, I cannot tolerate what you just said. Huh? Lily's father explained to her, whose eyes widened. We've been fans of her deli for a long time, haven't we? We used to order from there for our home parties. It's been known for its healthy and delicious food, even before you married Tim. What? Sweating. Lily realized she had ignored her parents' stories. Her mother continued. We've overlooked your whims till now, but this time, we can't forgive you. Your behavior towards Rachel and Tim is too much. Exactly. Lying, belittling others, cheating, then trying to pass off another man's child as your husband's. It's despicable. Her father looked at her coldly. After today, we're cutting ties with you. What? What am I supposed to do now? I can't work. Figure it out. You're 30, aren't you? When will you stop relying on others? Marry that guy, he's the real father, right? He said he won't divorce his wife. No, I can't work. Lily wailed. Tim, I'm sorry. It was all my fault. She started begging. Please forgive me for everything. Uninterested in Lily's crumpled family, the guests left their half-eaten meals and unfinished drinks behind and departed, leaving the room eerily empty with the remnants of the failed celebration. Lily, who didn't want to work, cried and refused to divorce, but was eventually persuaded by her parents, who grudgingly agreed to sign the papers. They even covered her alimony. Later, Lily was kicked out of her parents' home. With money borrowed from them for moving and initial expenses, she moved into an apartment and started living alone. Her parents, not trusting her with the baby, decided to take the child and raise it themselves. They even demanded child support and acknowledgement from the baby's biological father. Lily, used to a life of leisure, must be struggling with her first job. After all, she has to repay her parents for the moving expenses and the alimony. She doesn't have time to dress up or have fun like she used to, and she seems to be working hard every day with her hair all messed up. Lily and I, along with Tim, have cut ties, but we still maintain a relationship with her parents. They came to my place with an apology gift after the fiasco. We didn't raise her right. We're so sorry, Tim and Rachel. Their tearful apologies helped alleviate some of my lingering anger. Gratefully, they continue to favor my deli. The business has thrived on word of mouth, with more customers than ever before. I'm busy preparing for the opening of a second location. Tim, too, has regained his spirits and is working hard. Though busy, we both lead fulfilling lives. Someday, if Tim has his own children, I'll shower them with all the love I can give. My mother-in-law is like a parasite, right? Kinda like a leeching freeloader. I couldn't even force a smile as my once sweet daughter-in-law, Natalie, and my own son, Harry, ridiculed me in front of our relatives. Harry has changed since marrying Natalie. Or maybe, his true colors are just showing now. Somehow, I've become disliked by both of them. Ahaha, Natalie's absolutely right. My mother-in-law clapped gleefully. Here I am, not working because I'm taking care of her, and instead of gratitude, I get this treatment. I wonder if there's any point in me being in this house. I guess I'll quit being a mom then. I blurted it out without thinking. What? Everyone in this house harbors selfish secrets. I've been a piece of this family, but the very moment there's the lack of that piece, it'll all start to fall apart. I'm Mirabelle, a homemaker in her 50s. I was thrilled when my only son got engaged. I'm Natalie. Since my parents divorced and I don't have a mom, I'm so happy to have a real mother now. That's what she said when we first met, all bright and cheery. She's a decade younger than Harry, still in her early 20s. Such a lively and honest girl. Later, Natalie invited me out for a meal. It was close to Mother's Day, and she said it was a celebration. We enjoyed a meal at a slightly fancy French restaurant, where I even heard some complaints about Harry. It seemed like Natalie and I could really become like a real mother and daughter. But when it came time to pay, neither Natalie nor Harry made any move to open their wallets. I don't want you to hold back, eat whatever you like, Natalie had said at the start, so I had assumed they were treating me. I hurriedly paid the bill. Ah, that was delicious. Thanks for the meal, Mirabelle. Yeah, it was great. Let's do this again sometime. Yay! Next time, let's have pizza. Harry never once asked me out for a meal for Mother's Day. While I felt a bit uneasy, Natalie's thoughtfulness genuinely made me happy. Then, as the wedding preparations progressed, they made an unexpected proposal. Can we live with you, Mom? I was astounded by the sudden suggestion of moving in together. I never thought a daughter-in-law would want to live with her in-laws, not in the past, nor now. I had lived with my husband's parents when I got married, so I knew how hard it could be. But it was a decision made after discussing with Harry, and Natalie was eager too. When I consulted my husband, Tom, he wouldn't look at me and didn't say a word. Since he didn't seem upset, I guess that means it's okay. Also, my mother-in-law lives with us in our home. She was all for Harry and Natalie moving in. She's always doted on her grandson Harry, so it's a natural reaction. Tom, my husband, is a traditional patriarch, a commanding figure. He's someone to be respected. And his mother, my mother-in-law, she's like a deity. If these two agree, I don't have any right to object. However, there's just one little problem in our house. Gosh, another bland and tasteless meal. When are you ever gonna grow as a homemaker? This is the usual scene at mealtime. During meals, my mother-in-law always sighs heavily and makes snide remarks. The bland taste of the food is due to me being considerate of her illness. I care for my mother-in-law, who has trouble walking, day and night, often waking up to assist her to the bathroom. And I drive her to the hospital 3 times a week. I work tirelessly for her, day and night, yet my efforts are never acknowledged. Once, I talked to Tom about it. What if we have your mom go to a day rehabilitation a few times a week? She could make friends and it'd be a nice change of pace. Tom didn't respond. He just glared at me for a mere 2 seconds, then turned his back without a word. In other words, the answer was no. When I got married, the male priority atmosphere was still in the air at home unit. Various forms of harassment and strict discipline weren't really questioned back then. Times have changed, but Tom and his mother's mindset is still stuck in the past. I secretly have hopes for Natalie. She might bring a new breeze into our home. Having struggled with mother-in-law issues myself, I don't want my daughter-in-law to go through the same. I'll protect my precious Natalie from my mother-in-law. If I'm careful, we should be able to build a good relationship. And so, with Harry and Natalie joining, life for our family of 5 began. Hey, Mirabelle. Natalie approached me, flustered, first thing in the morning. The laundry. This is unbelievable. What's wrong? Why did you wash my clothes with your husband's? It's disgusting. I can't stand it, wash them again. Even if you rewash them, it feels gross. Natalie was ranting while I hung the laundry. Oh, sorry about that. Please wash my clothes separately. I'd rather not even share the same washing machine. I guess washing clothes with a middle-aged man who was a stranger until recently might be off-putting. I realized I hadn't been considerate enough. But I never expected Natalie to be so particular. She usually just throws her underwear and fancy clothes in the laundry basket, leaving socks and pants wherever. It's better than being awkwardly considerate, right? I had my thoughts about Natalie's attitude, but I convinced myself that she was opening up to me. But Natalie's attitude feels different from just relying on her mom. Hey, Mirabelle. Can you make my lunchbox more colorful? If you look on the internet, you can find pictures of cute lunchboxes. Please do your homework. I'm embarrassed by these old-fashioned lunchboxes. I've been making lunchboxes for Natalie to take to work every morning at her request. I was thanked only the first time. Now it's all complaints like, don't use those tacky aluminum cups or the simmered broccoli is the worst. She always demands a lunchbox that looks good in photos. Not just for Natalie, but apparently, I'm expected to put the same effort into Harry's lunchbox too. Harry seems content as long as his stomach's full, but I still make carrot shapes into hearts, as Natalie wants. I have to prioritize my daughter-in-law's feelings. It's natural for a young person like her to have different tastes, so I should be the one to adjust. The laundry, cooking, everything around the house is left to me, increasing my workload since they moved in. I felt awkward entering the couple's bedroom without permission, but on the 3rd day of living together, Natalie scolded me. Don't you think you should clean our room without being told? You're a full-time housewife, right? Cleaning is your job, isn't it? What are you slacking off for? This is why people who don't work outside are no good. Harry and I are working hard outside, so you should at least take care of the house. It's only been a week since Natalie moved in. And I'm already exhausted. My mother-in-law, whom I was worried about, is lenient with her cute granddaughter-in-law. Sometimes she calls Natalie to her room and gives her some pocket money. Despite my resolve to protect Natalie from my mother-in-law, the two have become quite close. Yuck, today's dinner is inedible again. It's sad to see Grandma eat such bland food just because she's sick. Isn't that discrimination? Mirabelle, you're so mean. Here, Grandma, use some tomato ketchup. Ah, Natalie, you're so kind. Compared to that demonic wife, you look like a goddess. I'm so grateful. A month into living together, it's like there are 2 mothers-in-law making snide remarks, and I feel more and more alienated. Natalie comes home from work, dropping her bag in the hallway, her jacket in the corridor, and her rolled-up tights in the living room. Yet, she points out any chores I haven't done. Huh? There are dishes in the sink. Oh. Why are there laundry on the sofa? I come home tired, where am I supposed to relax? On the floor? Are you saying I should just sit on the floor? I'm being bullied by my mother-in-law. Natalie doesn't hold back even a bit. I gather the laundry from the sofa. Sorry. I got held up at the hospital today and couldn't get around to the housework. Ah, so you're blaming Grandma? Poor Grandma. Then Harry, who had already returned home, joined in. Mom, you've always been cold to Grandma, haven't you? What? I was shocked by Harry's words. I've been caring for my mother-in-law since Harry was in middle school. Caring for her, sharp in mind but physically impaired, was tough and drained me both physically and mentally. But I never neglected her, and I certainly never complained or showed weakness in front of Harry. Grandma used to secretly give me cake, saying it's just between us because she couldn't eat it. She thanked me for helping with her care, praising me, and taking me to concerts of my favorite singers as a reward. Mom, you were always clever with your words, making Grandma feel left out and skipping out on her care. Yeah, I get it. She looks kind, but inside she's dark and twisted. No, that's not true. I want to deny it, but I can't find my voice. I can't believe Harry thought that way. Harry, like Tom, has always been taciturn and barely spoke with me since his teenage years. With the added burden of caring for my mother-in-law, I was anxious it would only widen the distance between Harry and me. But when the care was new and tough, especially getting my mother-in-law up, Harry silently lent a hand. Despite his gruffness, I believed Harry was kind and cared for me and his grandmother. What is he thinking in his silence? I've always wished we could talk more. Now, influenced by Natalie, Harry has become chatty, a completely different person than the one I knew. Now, he joins Natalie in pointing and laughing at me. Speaking of which, I'm hungry. Mirabelle, what's for dinner tonight? I'll whip up something quickly. As I rush to the kitchen, Natalie's voice pierces my back. I can't believe it. Harry's hungry too, you know. He's tired from working outside. You just don't understand how people feel after a long day's work. Yeah, you're right. Harry responds with a wry smile, glancing upward. I briefly hope he hesitates to belittle me, but he quickly starts laughing. A full-time housewife and can't even handle simple chores properly. How many years have you been a mom? Useless. Their words are harsh. I feel dizzy with anger, but more than that, I can't accept that Harry has changed so much. Oh, gotta tell you, Mirabelle. Natalie says cheerfully, not with her usual sarcasm. We're having a birthday party this Sunday, so count on you. Natalie continues proudly. It's Grandma's birthday. You were forgetting, weren't you? That's terrible. Of course, I remember her birthday. Despite her grumbles about not needing celebrations at her age, I've quietly marked the occasion every year. If I didn't, it would just be another problem. When I ask my mother-in-law, she's almost skipping with excitement, clearly thrilled. Natalie said she's going to celebrate my birthday. She's inviting all my sisters and nieces. Natalie's different, you know. Much more thoughtful than you. The birthday party for my mother-in-law was decided without my input. It's already this coming Sunday. Why didn't they tell me earlier when I'm the one doing all the preparations? You're just a housewife with plenty of time, so one day should be enough, right? Natalie smirks maliciously. And then comes Sunday, the day of the birthday party. Natalie greets relatives with her charming smile. Just a month ago, I liked her smile. Why has everything changed? I sigh while frying chicken nuggets, not feeling up to joining the lively scene in the living room. Come on, Mirabelle. Everyone's gathered. You at least have to serve drinks. Oh, I didn't realize, sorry. Just as I thought Natalie came into the kitchen, she sharply reprimands me. It almost seemed like Natalie was the competent mother around here. She carried just one beer bottle, cheerfully announcing, "Sorry to keep you waiting," as she returned to the living room. I followed her, struggling to carry a load of beers. The strength I'd gained from years of caregiving came in handy. Thanks everyone for gathering today for Grandma's birthday. Happy birthday, Grandma! Natalie led the merry celebration. The feast I managed to prepare in time was spread out on the table, bringing smiles to our relatives' faces. Naturally, everyone got drunk smoothly. Harry sure married a great wife. Throwing a birthday party for Grandma, that's so thoughtful. Hee, it's because Grandma's always been nice to me. She's a rare find these days, a well-brought-up daughter-in-law. No wonder you all get along so well living together. If only being praised was always this easy, just by suggesting a birthday party. Natalie, buoyed by the mood and the alcohol, started openly belittling me in front of our relatives. But, you know, the problem is with Mirabelle here. Her gaze meaningfully shifted to me. She's like a parasite, you know. I'd endured thoughtless remarks before, but this was beyond anything else. A relative nearby choked on their beer, coughing. Natalie, pleasantly tipsy, didn't seem to care. I mean, she doesn't work, and still, laundry is left out at night. And the meals? Such a slacker, right? Harry, his cheeks flushed, chimed in. Yeah, what's the point of a full-time housewife if she doesn't do the housework? Mom's like a leeching freeloader or something. Being ridiculed in front of our relatives, I couldn't even force a smile. Am I really that incompetent? If a stay-at-home mom who doesn't earn money is a parasite or a leech, then I guess I have no defense. Even a grade schooler could do cleaning and cooking. Natalie's absolutely right. The main woman at the birthday party, my mother-in-law, clapped gleefully. I glanced at Tom, who seemed disinterested, as if in another world, simply continuing his meal. What's the point of me being here? Then I guess I'll quit being a mom, I blurted out without thinking. What? Natalie and Harry said in unison. They were exchanging smirks. Go ahead, go ahead. Harry said, jokingly, and Natalie couldn't help but burst into laughter. Drunk Harry and Natalie seemed oblivious to the awkwardness of the situation. The mood among the relatives seemed to sober up instantly. My spirit felt as cold as ice. I thought I was protecting this home, being a wife and a mother. I finally realized that everything I did was in vain. After being ridiculed to this extent, I couldn't bring myself to make their lunches tomorrow. So, no more being the convenient mother. As I stood up to leave, the relatives looked at me worriedly, but I didn't care and headed straight to my room to pack my things. I'm leaving now. No way, for real? I'm gonna miss you, Mirabelle. Take care. Truth be told, my hands were trembling. I was just a weak woman trying to escape. Having impulsively left the house, I found myself unsure of where to go. Long ago, shortly after I started caring for my mother-in-law, there was a divorce uproar. Fed up with her sarcasm and Tom's indifference, I wanted to leave. But my parents didn't allow me to return home. It's not like he's beating you or not providing for you, right? My mother had said, not seeing it as a significant problem. Back then, a man not being a drunkard or in debt was considered a good husband. I guess I have no choice but to go back home. I decided, but my steps were heavy. Surprisingly, my parents welcomed me warmly. Mirabelle, are you okay? You look so worn out. My mother's wrinkled hands gently caressed my face. Glancing sideways, I saw my reflection in the hallway mirror, looking like an old woman. My cheeks were sunken, my eyes hollow, and my back unnaturally hunched. I was appalled at the ugliness, unrecognizable for someone in their 50s. I told my parents about what happened at home. I had gotten used to my mother-in-law's sarcasm and Tom being virtually absent. But being treated so dismissively by Harry and Natalie, and the gap between my expectations and reality, was too much to bear. You being tormented by your daughter-in-law instead of the other way around? Wow, times have changed. My mother laughed. I'm sorry for coming back at this age. Don't worry about it. You've been enduring a lot. You've lost so much weight. We should have let you divorce earlier. We regret not accepting it before. This time, we're on your side, Mirabelle. Mom. I realized I had a place to belong. That alone was a huge relief. I had no idea that Natalie and the others would soon find themselves in a predicament. About 3 weeks after I left, Harry called. Hey, Dad's being annoying. He keeps asking us about paying money for the household. Can you do something? Before they moved in, we discussed how Harry and Natalie would manage their living expenses. But Tom, with his arms crossed, had said, don't need it. Maybe it was his fatherly pride not to take money from his son. But now, asking for money suddenly, there must be a special reason. Apparently, right after I left, there was a dispute over who would do the housework. Of course, Tom wouldn't do it. Tom obviously expected Natalie to take care of the housework. But Natalie wasn't willing to do it either. And with my mother-in-law's limited mobility, she couldn't help. So, the task fell to Harry, who was in the weakest position. I was actually doing the cleaning and laundry, you know. But Natalie and Grandma kept complaining about wrinkled clothes and not wanting store-bought food. So, I tried hiring a housekeeping service. The house was clean, the food was great, and both Natalie and Grandma were happy. But then, Dad got angry for some reason and canceled the service.
I see. Outsourcing housework costs money. Moreover, Harry seemed proud that they had the housekeeping service 5 times a week, providing a clean environment and fresh meals. Probably Tom was paying, so Harry didn't worry about the cost. It makes sense why Tom was asking for money.
Mirabelle, long time no see.
Natalie was there with Harry, joining the conversation. She probably thought Harry couldn't get to the point.
Like, housework is your job, right? You abandoned it and ran away from home. You should be the one paying for the housekeeping service, Natalie said, followed by a chuckle. Ah, but you, with no income, can't afford it, right?
Impossible, huh?
Sorry. So, how about coming back and doing your job? You're a full-time housewife, aren't you?
I'm not coming back.
I'm planning to divorce Dad. What? Divorce? Then who's gonna do the housework?
Natalie's voice was tense.
Getting a divorce at your age, just before turning 60? That's unrealistic. You should just swallow your pride and come back.
What happened to you? You want me to come back? I asked, genuinely curious. Natalie hesitated to respond. Instead, Harry spoke up in a pitiful tone.
It's been 2 weeks since the housekeeping service stopped coming.
The call switched from audio to video. I was shocked at what I saw.
The place is a mess.
Behind a slumped Harry, there were scattered wrapping papers of fast foods and takeout containers. Somehow, laundry piled on top of them. Natalie was swatting at something with her hand, indicating flies were buzzing around. I expected some mess, but this was a disaster.
Oh my. Mom, please come back.
Harry pleaded in a whiny voice. But my heart remained icy. Was I a failure as a mother for not feeling sorry for my son? Oh, right, I quit being a mother. I remembered and felt a sudden relief.
Harry, did you forget? I quit being your mom. If you want it cleaned up so badly, do it yourself. Mom, that's harsh. I don't even know how to begin cleaning this mess now. Well then, why don't you hire that convenient housekeeping service again? But of course, with your own money. Stop relying on your parents forever. That's impossible,
Harry said, shrinking in on himself. In a barely audible voice, he confessed.
I don't have any money. What? Well, moving back home meant I didn't have to worry about living expenses, right? Dad's working, so I figured I didn't need to work either. Dad always used to say that a child's job is to play.
I couldn't understand Harry's reasoning and just shook my head in confusion. Natalie was the first to react.
What? You quit your job? You're the real leech here. How dare you mock your mother like that?
For the first time, I found myself agreeing with Natalie. Harry, perhaps feeling a bit guilty, shrank even more.
Then all the more reason for you to do the housework, Harry. It's totally fine nowadays for a woman to earn while the man takes care of the home. Make cute lunches for Natalie so she can work hard. I used to do it for you, right? Now it's your turn.
Harry, with a puzzled look, furrowed his brows and muttered.
Cute lunches! I used to make lunches that were photo-worthy for you and Natalie. Heart-shaped carrots, apple peels in a checkered pattern. It was a lot of hard work, you know. What are you talking about? You never made me lunches. What?
I glanced at Natalie, who awkwardly averted her eyes.
What do you mean, Natalie? I used to make both yours and Harry's lunches every morning. What happened to those lunches? Well, that's because...
Natalie, grinning sheepishly, looked like she was hiding something.
Answer me honestly.
As I raised my voice, Natalie clicked her tongue. Clearly annoyed at being scolded by someone she deemed inferior.
I was giving them to a guy at work, okay? What's the big deal? Harry turned out to be such a loser for quitting his job, so it's only natural I looked at someone else. I'm not at fault. Knowing about Harry being unemployed only just now, that excuse doesn't hold up, does it?
Natalie bit her lip in frustration.
You've been cheating?
Natalie had married Harry, older and seemingly indulgent. It seemed like she saw me as a housemaid and Tom as a piggy bank. Content with an easy life, yet not wanting to let go of her young love interest. Her idea was to balance a stable family life with an exciting romance.
Do you still love me? Creepy. Stay away from me. Cheating's a lie, right? It's only me, right? Natalie? Natalie? Natalie?
Harry approached Natalie with a crazed look. These two, each with their own secrets, were in a way perfect for each other.
Don't touch me, you freeloader! What did you say, you floozy? I'm your husband. I won't tolerate infidelity.
The two began to scuffle, tumbling over into the trash-strewn room. Natalie's pretty face was smeared with some kind of sauce. Eventually, the smartphone fell with a loud noise, and the screen, probably showing the floor, went dark. Over from there, near screams of anger could be heard.
Don't act so high and mighty, you leech. I'm not the bad one. You're the one who cheated.
They were fighting amidst the trash, becoming a part of it themselves. Later, Tom and I divorced. I was about to bring it up when Tom unexpectedly handed me the divorce papers first. He couldn't bear the idea of being the one dumped by his wife. I thought Harry and Natalie might divorce too, but they apparently chose to rebuild their relationship. Turns out, Natalie got dumped by her guy. She told him let's get married after leaving me, but he just quit his job and disappeared. It was all just a game to him. Natalie was always just that kind of woman. Harry reported this to me with evident glee. However, just days after this report, Harry, Natalie, and Tom showed up at my parents' house. For some reason, Harry was dragging Tom along, as if forcing him to come.
Give back the money you took from Dad.
Harry's expression was unusually harsh. I was confused and couldn't respond.
Did you know, Mom? That Dad, this guy, was unemployed.
Unemployed? Harry forcefully pushed Tom. He fell into the doorway, devoid of any dignity.
He retired early last year. He could have worked another 5 years. Quitting like that is just crazy.
I was shocked. Tom had maintained the same routine for decades. Dressed in a suit, leaving the house at the same time every morning. Sometimes he even had overtime or went out for drinks. Above all, he was providing the living expenses.
The living expenses came from the retirement money. Retirement money. That's supposed to be saved for old age.
I worked enough. I wanted to be free.
So, you wanted freedom. While dumping the burden of your mother-in-law on me, you enjoyed your freedom?
Tom hung his head, defeated. Harry, fuming, continued.
That's why you need to return the money you took when we divorced.
What are you talking about?
I haven't received any money from him. We've been struggling with the property settlement. Then why is Dad so broke? He said you took the money. It's obvious. He spent it all himself. He quit his job last year, right? Where was he spending his time during the day?
The answer was the casino. Having time on his hands, he tried his luck at a casino and won big. He got hooked and started going every day. Of course, he didn't make any profit, and his money just vanished into the machines.
That can't be. It's a lie. It's my money. Is it wrong for me to use it? Of course it's wrong. That's why we're in trouble now.
Overwhelmed, Harry couldn't really contribute to the conversation, so Natalie, looking annoyed, explained the current situation. Grandma fell. She's in the hospital now. I had thought that my mother-in-law would struggle without me, but apparently, she was quite happy. She managed to walk to the bathroom next to her room and avoided outings that required assistance, even stopped bathing. Natalie apparently complained several times about the smell, but it seems the person in question wasn't bothered by it. No one approached her smelly room, they just threw in food, and she lived a cycle of eating and sleeping. The convenience store meals were so delicious, she was thrilled. Your food was terrible, after all. But as a result, my mother-in-law's illness worsened, and she was hospitalized. I wonder if she was happy or unhappy, having been able to eat junk foods at her will, in her last days of freedom.
It's Mom's fault,
Tom said quietly. Then finally opened up his true feelings and burst out.
Mom is to blame. She inherited all of Dad's estate. She's old and won't last long. Once she's gone, all that money is mine. Why work hard when I'll soon inherit a fortune? That's why I quit my job.
Harry and Natalie looked at each other coldly.
So, it turns out Grandma didn't have any money, huh?
Tom shrank back again, his excitement fading.
We can't afford the hospital bills, and we can't take care of her if she comes home. We want to put her in a facility, but we don't have the money for that either. What are we supposed to do now? It's shameful how you lied about Mom taking the money. Dad, you should take responsibility for your own mother.
Tom sniffled, tears welling up in his eyes. The once domineering Tom was now reduced to tears.
Mirabelle.
I felt no sympathy for the weakened Tom.
Pitiful. A man relying on his mother's money, looking for an easy life.
Tom's outstretched arm fell limp. I looked straight at Harry, conveying my message to him too.
Harry, you too. A son just like his father, it's disgraceful.
Harry seemed genuinely surprised, his face filled with confusion. Fortunately, my mother-in-law recovered and was discharged from the hospital.
Mirabelle, please help.
Surprisingly, it was Natalie who came to me, crying.
Please come back, Mirabelle. Help us.
Natalie appears to be working hard to support the family. They wanted to put my mother-in-law in a facility, but there wasn't enough money, and no relatives were willing to help. Tom and Harry have been taking care of her during the day, but both are inexperienced in caregiving and are suffering from depression. My mother-in-law, receiving subpar care, can be heard weeping like a ghost in her room. She must be too weak to even complain. The convenience store meals she once enjoyed, she can no longer stomach, now begging just for bread. It's pitiful. With no time for housework, their home is so cluttered with garbage there's hardly any space to walk. Natalie, with no break from work and caregiving, looked utterly exhausted. Natalie should just leave quickly, but she's probably too overwhelmed to even think of that.
Mirabelle. I'm not your family anymore.
Natalie's face froze in despair, as if pushed into an abyss. I've always been a stay-at-home mom, but luckily, I found a job quickly. It's in caregiving. After returning home, I was initially down, not knowing what to do next. I felt helpless, living alone. Then my mother advised, use your experience.
Mirabelle's life wasn't wasted.
I can clean. I can cook. I can do caregiving. When I thought about it, I realized I had many skills.
Rounding up, I'm almost 60, and here I am, embarking on a completely different life. Never imagined that. What are you talking about? You're still in your 50s. To me, that's young, very young. I envy your youth, my mother said, munching on her breakfast steak.
Though I'm younger, my mother is more energetic. Being near her, I feel like I'm receiving some of her energy. I might have given up being a mother myself, but the presence of a mother is so warm and comforting. Without being overly dependent, I want to maintain a good relationship with her.
Don't slack off, you useless wife. Don't use morning sickness as an excuse.
My husband, looking down on me, was yelling with spittle flying. I was lying on the couch, trying to rest, and struggled to stand up. But as soon as I did, nausea surged from my stomach to my throat, and I covered my mouth with my palm. I stroked my swollen belly, trying to soothe it, but the nausea didn't subside at all.
A senior colleague told me, even with morning sickness, you can still cook and clean. Besides, it's strange that you still have morning sickness with such a big belly.
His words gave me a headache all over again. Morning sickness typically begins in the early stages of pregnancy and usually settles down by second trimester. However, about 20% of women, like me, continue to suffer from it even after that. My husband has been directly told this by the doctor. Yet, he still treats me as a useless wife, slacking off in household chores using morning sickness as an excuse. You believe your colleagues' words over the doctor's, over watching me suffer right in front of your eyes. As I felt overwhelmed by helplessness, my husband, who was looking down on me, suddenly fell silent and walked behind the couch where I was lying. Then he started kicking my back, trying to knock me off the couch. "Stop it. It hurts, please stop." Dull thuds echoed from my back. If I fell off the couch, my belly would hit the floor. If I turned around, his kicks might hit my belly directly. As I panicked, not knowing what to do, suddenly a woman's voice rang out.
"Are you okay?"
The woman, an experienced mom I had recently become friends with, gently touched my back and slowly helped me up. As I felt the warmth of her hands, tears welled up in my eyes. Looking up at her, I saw my husband behind her, shaking all over and as pale as I've ever seen him. "I'm Emily, 29 years old and currently pregnant. I work for a cosmetics company, but I'm on early maternity leave. This is because I've been suffering from morning sickness for almost the entire pregnancy. While many people say morning sickness only occurs in the early stages, I'm still struggling with it in the late stages of pregnancy. I haven't gained weight, and my health isn't great. I've even discussed hospitalization with my doctor. While it's not common, there are a certain number of women who go through this. Since the early stages of my pregnancy, I've often been unable to manage household chores. There's nothing I can do to stop the morning sickness, but my husband has been growing increasingly frustrated with me. My husband is Michael. 2 years older, and we went to same high school. We met in high school, where I was the manager of the soccer team. We didn't talk much back then. We started dating after a soccer team alumni gathering. After dating for about 2.5 years, we got married when I was 26. I didn't know much about him until we started dating, but I remember thinking he was a genuinely straightforward person. That was evident during a weekend date at a shopping mall near a toy store. There was a play area for kids, and some toys were laid out. The children playing there all seemed happy, each finding their favorite toy to play with. I thought to myself that placing these samples might lead to sales, and it's also a good way for the store to find out what interests children, making it effective from a marketing standpoint.
"Hey, that's a toy from my company."
He works at a toy manufacturer, and some of the toys in that area were from his company.
"It feels good to see them play happily. It makes me feel like it was worth making them."
Michael's expression was one of happiness as he watched the children play with the toys. I never thought he would change so much after I got pregnant and started having morning sickness. I was impressed by his dedication to his job. I had thought that because Michael was such a person, there would be no worries even after having a child. But once I got pregnant and the morning sickness began, Michael started to frown. The severity of my morning sickness made it impossible to lead a normal life. I couldn't even sleep properly. I often had to get off the train during my commute due to nausea and started experiencing symptoms similar to anemia. Household chores became particularly difficult, moving around for cleaning was painful, and cooking was impossible due to constant nausea. Since I used to do most of the chores, naturally, our daily life was affected. That's when Michael started to scorn me as if he had become a different person.
"It's really unpleasant to see your face like you're about to throw up. Can't you try to act a bit more cheerful, even if you're feeling sick? I'm not sick, so you should at least manage to serve meals. Are you trying to starve me? What is this? Did you really clean?" He would express his annoyance with me every day. It was so unreasonable that I wanted to have a proper discussion about it,
but my morning sickness was so bad that I couldn't even talk properly. Just sitting up made me feel sick, and talking triggered nausea. When that happened, Michael would sigh heavily and say, "Don't waste my time." When I asked why he would say such things to me, pregnant with his child, he replied, "A colleague at work said so." Who's this person? A colleague at work. He's got a wife and kids, so he's convincing. And what did he say? That morning sickness is just an excuse to slack off. I couldn't believe a man who had never been pregnant, especially one whose wife had given birth, would say such a thing. I wanted to say that, but my condition reached its limit, and the conversation ended. As I lay down on the sofa, unable to bear it any longer, Michael remarked, "It must be nice to be pregnant and able to sleep all day," and left. Why did Michael believe this guy's words? I wondered if his wife was really okay. It was someone else's business, but I was worried. Anyway, I felt it was dangerous to continue like this until delivery. The next prenatal checkup is on Saturday. Come with me. What? On my day off? You didn't even attend the parenting classes. The doctor said it's important for husbands to hear some things, so he wants you to come. My colleague said he never went to any of that. Well, at my clinic, I'm about the only one whose husband doesn't accompany her. Sounds like a hassle. Michael, who cares about his image, wouldn't like to be seen as the only unconcerned husband. The doctor really had said, it would be good if your husband could come once, so hopefully, he would say something. I hoped this would be an opportunity for Michael to change his perspective. On Saturday, as planned, I got Michael to accompany me to the prenatal checkup. The ultrasound showed the baby was a bit smaller than average, but growing healthily. I felt greatly relieved by that information. Still can't eat much? Right, I feel nauseous. During the consultation with the doctor, Michael sat next to me. You're anemic too. Just take it easy. Yes, the morning sickness hasn't stopped. As your belly gets bigger, you might still feel sick. Will it continue until delivery? Some women do experience it until the last month. Is that so? I was only about 3 weeks away from my due date. The thought of feeling even worse was unbearable. Michael, please help your wife stay as rested as possible. The doctor turned to Michael and said. It was a reasonable request from a doctor to a pregnant woman's family. But unbelievably, Michael scoffed. Well, I have work, too. Morning sickness varies from person to person, right? Yes, but your wife's is particularly severe. The doctor calmly replied, but he seemed to have quickly understood what type of spouse Michael was. Usually very gentle, the doctor firmly corrected Michael. Have you ever had a hangover? A little, maybe. Your wife is experiencing something many times worse than that hangover, and it lasts all day. Really, like a hangover? Just sitting up makes her feel sick. Plus, she's a bit anemic, so she feels even worse. Huh. The cervical length is also short. To protect the baby, she needs to rest. The doctor earnestly explained my situation, but Michael just gave non-committal responses and even muttered. Moreover, he murmured quietly, almost inaudibly to the doctor, my colleague said I don't need to listen to this. Looking back, Michael's behavior started changing around the time my pregnancy was confirmed. He often became grumpy, complaining about things like a pile of Uniron shirts, meaning he couldn't wear what he wanted, or that I hadn't collected the mail from the mailbox, leaving it untouched. It seems that whatever his colleague at work told him influenced him to act this way. Certainly, I had become unable to do things I used to, which might have caused inconvenience and dissatisfaction for Michael. However, it's also true that despite both of us working, I had a greater share of household responsibilities. Even when I repeatedly asked for his cooperation because I was feeling unwell, he would just say, pregnancy isn't an illness, so don't slack off. I never thought he was like this before the pregnancy. He seemed like a completely different person from the Michael I knew since high school. Please take care not to overdo. The doctor emphasized as I left the consultation room with Michael. colleague at work said doctors exaggerate, so there's no point in listening. When I heard Michael say that as we sat on the waiting room sofa, I really thought it might be hopeless. He wouldn't understand my situation even after seeing it. Even when explained by the doctor, Michael wouldn't listen. He blindly believed in the words of some unknown person at work, insisting on what suited him best. Could such a man really be a good father to our child? Moreover, was it even safe to be near Michael during childbirth and child-rearing? I had wanted to go back to my parents' home for the birth, but it was impractical. My younger brother and his family were living with my parents, and their home was too far away. Plus, I needed to look for a daycare here. Considering everything, it seemed best to give birth here. I'm going out for a while. I'll be back by dinner, Michael said as we left the hospital, leaving me alone. In other words, he expected me to prepare dinner. I wished he would eat out instead. It seemed that nothing the doctor said stayed in his head. After that, Michael didn't change. He demanded, buy beer, and iron all my shirts, showing no empathy at all. He even started yelling at me for being useless when I couldn't do the housework. Despite the ongoing severe morning sickness, feeling the baby's movements was my only solace. The baby inside me is growing healthily. I must protect it at all costs. The Saturday after my prenatal checkup, I was home alone, lying on the sofa. Michael had gone out to meet his college friends and said he would return late after drinking. It was easier without Michael around. I didn't have to deal with the hassle. I just wanted to relax and take care of myself when alone. That's what I had been thinking. Still sleeping? In the evening, suddenly Michael returned home. Weren't you going out drinking? Some guy left because his kid got sick, then the others started saying they needed to be home for dinner or to bathe their kids. Pathetic, like slaves to their wives. It seemed he was the only one who wanted to keep drinking. Frustrated that things didn't go his way, Michael was in a foul mood. So why haven't you made dinner? You said you'd be out drinking. If you were coming home, you should have told me.
Don't be so whiny.
Michael, venting his irritation at me, shouted and stomped around to the back of the sofa. Incredibly, he started kicking my back as if trying to knock me off the sofa while I was lying down. Stop it, I cried.
Pregnancy and morning sickness aren't illnesses. Stop slacking, you useless wife.
He continued to kick my curled up back, which was instinctively protecting my belly. If I fell from the sofa, my belly would hit the floor. If I turned, his kicks might hit my belly directly. In a panic, all I could do was clutch my belly. I must protect this child at all costs. At that moment, that's when the doorbell rang repeatedly. It wasn't just the entrance to the building but our apartment door. Startled, Michael went to check the intercom. I seized the opportunity to rush to the front door, ignoring the pain in my back.
Hey, Emily!
Michael, focused only on the monitor, seemed not to notice that I had moved. From behind, he called out my name in a panicked tone. I unlocked the door with trembling hands and flung it open. I had a guess about who might be there.
Emily! Are you okay? Jennifer, please help me.
Jennifer. Michael muttered in shock behind me. And for good reason. Standing at the opened front door was Jennifer. After all, she was Michael's boss. I had met Jennifer about 2 months ago. While shopping at a nearby supermarket, I suddenly became so unwell that I couldn't move. I was unable to move a single step, fearing a blackout from anemia. Just then, Jennifer approached and said, "Are you okay? I'll support you. Let's move slowly to a seat where you can sit down." She firmly grasped my shoulder to help. She was a lifesaver. If it weren't for her, I might have passed out right there. The person who helped me at that time was Jennifer. I also had terrible anemia during my pregnancy. Jennifer, who had taken me to the nearest bench sofa, stayed by my side until I recovered. When I finally managed to thank her, she responded with a smile, saying those words. Jennifer must be in her 40s, I guess. She mentioned her high school-aged son was in a dormitory nearby. As a more experienced mother, I wanted to express my gratitude properly and asked for her contact information. That's how my interaction with Jennifer began. She and I bonded over our shared experience as soccer team managers in high school and eventually discovered she was Michael's boss. Jennifer had been concerned about my health, occasionally bringing me fruits I could eat. She had been visiting our home several times. Michael didn't know about this. This was because Jennifer had asked to keep our meetings quiet from Michael. Lately, Michael's behavior has been unacceptable. He's been influenced by this guy at work, disrespecting female colleagues. Are you okay, Emily? Jennifer had guessed that if Michael found out about our friendship, he would probably persuade me not to meet her again. She thought he would panic if he knew his boss was aware of his behavior towards me. But I had already told her everything. That's why Jennifer had said, "I'll help you anytime," and I had kept that in mind, thinking I could rely on her if things got too difficult. What happened just now? Jennifer asked as we sat on the sofa. She was supposed to visit me for dinner, and we were on the phone when Michael returned, so she heard his verbal abuse. Moreover, when Michael returned home, Jennifer and I were on a call, so she could hear Michael's verbal abuse and behavior, even though it was only through audio. He kicked me while I was lying down.
That's not true.
Michael interjected. I couldn't believe he had the audacity to say that's not true. I couldn't forgive him anymore. He kicked me several times. I mean, it's not like that. As I didn't back down, and under the stern gaze of Jennifer, Michael's words started to falter. In response, Jennifer calmly delivered her message. I warned you before, Michael. If your behavior didn't change, you'd be removed from our project. Your conduct towards female colleagues and your pregnant wife doesn't align with developing toys for children. Please, wait. You're not suitable for this project, as a father, a husband, or a person. You're off the project.
No, please, spare me from that.
Suddenly, Michael slid down to kneel at Jennifer's feet. I had never seen him like this before. Even though he was in the wrong, he stubbornly said, no. It was pitiful to see how he didn't care about appearances. My disillusionment with Michael intensified in these few minutes.
I won't do it again. I promise to bring good ideas.
The decision is final. No retraction. Jennifer replied unswervingly. Michael is rubbing his forehead on the floor while uttering irrelevant excuses. I also thought that it's no wonder he was removed from the project. According to what Jennifer told me before, the toy project she leads is a major project planned to develop over several years, and achieving results in it could mean recognition from the company. Being chosen for this project signals high expectations within the company, so many people want to participate to boost their career prospects. Michael, about 2 years ago, was directly under Jennifer from the project's inception and had delivered results in previous product developments, so he was a member from the start. However, Jennifer mentioned that about a year ago, after getting close to a senior colleague, Michael seemed to be influenced negatively. His behavior changed, starting to make disrespectful remarks about women, causing resentment. He also began taking credit for the ideas of his female colleagues and was on track to be removed from the project during discussions with the subleaders. It's outright domestic violence towards Emily. It's dangerous, so I'll protect her.
What are you saying? That's not okay.
Michael retorted in panic at Jennifer's words. Despite always finding her bothersome, he seems to be worried about losing someone to take care of the house. Emily, you've got your stuff packed, right? Yes, somewhat, so I'm ready for whenever the baby comes.
That's not okay. I'll report this as kidnapping to the police.
Michael kept barking while following us as we walked away with our luggage. Maybe he thinks mentioning the police will make us stop. I'd rather you call them right now.
I'll just tell them I protected her because her husband kicked her. I'm sorry. Please rethink this, Jennifer.
Michael frantically followed us to the entrance. But I knew he wouldn't chase us outside. A man as vain as Michael wouldn't do something so undignified. So once we're out the door, we're free.
I'll behave. I won't do it again. It's okay. So please don't remove me.
As expected, Michael was groveling in the hallway while we put on our shoes. He didn't chase us outside or show any remorse for his actions towards me, just desperately begging his boss for self-preservation. Pathetic. I never knew he was this kind of person. Michael fell silent as I opened the front door with a click. I'm getting a divorce. I'll hire a lawyer. I just said that with closing the front door. Michael was looking at me, his face twisted. I locked the door from the outside and started walking with Jennifer. After leaving the house, I ended up staying at Jennifer's place. She and her husband live in a house with spare rooms, as it's just the two of them, so they kindly offered me a place. However, being pregnant and needing to think about postpartum life, I needed to establish a stable living situation quickly. I started looking for a room I could move into right away, preferably near the hospital where I planned to give birth, to prepare the best environment for it. Jennifer and her husband even offered to help with the move. I really can't thank them enough. Meanwhile, Michael insists that he will absolutely not divorce. I've been avoiding his calls to leave a paper trail and have been communicating in writing, but he keeps sending lengthy, self-centered messages. If we divorce, it'll look bad. If everyone knows we're a happy couple, it'll improve my image, so I absolutely won't divorce. Apologize to Jennifer for admitting you were wrong, make it right so I can get back on the project. It's your fault. My colleague is also angry, so apologize to him too. To be honest, I couldn't understand the meaning behind what he was saying. Was he really serious? I couldn't comprehend why he had such thoughts. In any case, Michael was desperate. That's because Jennifer immediately informed the project members about removing Michael as soon as she returned home that day. This meant being excluded from the career path and was humiliating for Michael, who had been boasting about his competence. Furthermore, the reasons for his removal included behaviors that could be categorized as harassment towards female project members, domestic violence against his wife, and his frequent inability to judge right from wrong. These reasons had spread quickly, and Michael had garnered a terrible reputation. Originally, Michael had boasted everywhere that he was selected for the project because he was a rising star. However, his actions were far from those of a rising star, and everyone understood that. Therefore, the reactions from employees outside the project were more like I knew it and serves you right. Michael may want to redeem himself somehow, but it's probably futile. I had no obligation to listen to Michael's incomprehensible arguments. It might be better to proceed with divorce mediation sooner rather than later. I need to find a lawyer and get things moving quickly. While staying at Jennifer's house, helping with house hunting and arranging for a lawyer. The doorbell rang at Jennifer's house. Jennifer went to check the outside camera and muttered them. Could it be Michael? Jennifer. It's okay. Just wait a moment. Jennifer left me in the living room, where we were working together, and stepped outside. I heard the front door open and then close. After a while, the door burst open again, accompanied by several loud voices. The first to enter was a man I didn't recognize. Michael and Jennifer followed by. This the wife? Yes. Don't move any further. I'll call the police for trespassing. Upon Jennifer's words, phone in hand, the two men stopped dead in their tracks. They had evidently forced their way in. It's okay, Jennifer. We just came to talk. The stranger said with raising his hands. He was about Michael's age and had a smug, unpleasant grin. He was grinning and freaked out.
Listen to what he has to say. Emily.
I realized this must be the senior colleague Michael often mentioned. The man cleared his throat exaggeratedly before beginning to speak. First off, a wife should fully support her husband. You can't just slack off using excuses like feeling sick or morning sickness. Understand? He started lecturing me eventually. Just like Michael, nonsensical.
If you don't take care of yourself and serve your husband, you'll be left. Women need men to survive, so you better work hard not to be abandoned. And yet you defy your husband? You're greatly mistaken. You better apologize to Michael and make up.
I was horrified at his antiquated thinking. We were on completely different wavelengths. There's no way we could have a reasonable conversation. I felt paralyzed, as if encountering something unfathomable.
You're lucky your wife hasn't left you. My wife knows her place. Jennifer, you're too bossy for a woman, always interfering.
They started arguing. Jennifer's ability to respond logically and calmly was impressive. I admired her capability, even though it might be misplaced in this situation.
It's hard to take seriously someone who barges into another's home so rudely. We said we're visiting, didn't we?
You accessed our address through company records, didn't you? Threatened someone? That's against the rules, accessing personal information. It's not like that.
Michael can't do anything alone, so he brought backup to try and force his way.
Michael stiffened when Jennifer pointed out suddenly.
2 men teaming up to trespass without an appointment, trying to coerce by sheer force. It's true what they say, the weaker the dog, the louder its bark.
Jennifer snorted through her nose with a smirk. Her clearly provocative words made me more worried. Despite being in a position of power, she was facing 2 men. Excuse me? Is that all you got to say? Cowards should run away before they get reported, Jennifer challenged them.
What?
Michael and the senior colleague visibly lost their temper. Just then, the door behind them burst open with a loud crash. Everyone froze, shocked by the sound and force. It was at the back of the living room. Who was standing there was Jennifer's husband. A towering figure over 6.6 feet tall and weighing over 200 pounds, muscular and imposing. Only his mouth was visible above the doorframe. As he slowly moved and bent down to pass under the frame into the living room, Michael stumbled and fell on his behind. He looked up at Jennifer's husband with unfocused eyes, trembling and foaming at the mouth.
Ah!
Michael and the senior scrambled out of the room, shouting and rolling over each other. They eventually left the house, and all was silent. Jennifer, don't provoke them too much. It's dangerous. They're not as tough as they talk, and I knew you'd come to help. Even so, you never know. Okay. Jennifer and her husband had a great relationship. He was a former football player with enough talent to be considered for corporate teams. His physique is impressive and matches his background, making him look very intimidating. However, in reality, he is incredibly kind and has a great sense of humor. He's always full of consideration for Jennifer, and it's evident that she trusts her husband deeply. Last night, watching them eat dinner together, I thought they were such a wonderful couple. In the end, I stayed at Jennifer's house for 3 nights. I feel like I've become even closer to Jennifer. She seems like a real sister to me, or even like a best friend I've had for a long time. We hurriedly decided on a new place to move into, and while Michael was at work, I moved my belongings with Jennifer's help. The people who helped me at that time were Jennifer's husband's football friends. Some of them worked for moving companies, and they were introduced to me. With their availability and willingness to help, the move was done easily and at a low cost. Later, Jennifer told me about Michael and his colleague. They had threatened someone in HR to get her personal information, causing a big issue at the company. Already unpopular, their reputation plummeted. I heard that Michael and that man, having tarnished their reputations, were not only shunned by the project team members but also couldn't even get proper greetings from other employees at the company. They tried spreading false rumors about Jennifer, but it only led to more disdain. The issues were dealt with severely at the company, resulting in pay cuts, demotions, and transfers for both. Feeling uncomfortable at the company, both resigned. Regarding Michael, his domestic violence and punishment at work reached his parents, especially infuriating his FIL, who disowned him. Unable to afford the apartment planned for 2 incomes and unable to return home, Michael moved in with that guy, who lives with his wife and baby. This led to his wife reaching her limit. Despite being treated poorly before, his wife left him after he brought Michael, a jobless stranger, to live in their house without her consent. The situation escalated into a major fight between two of them, leading to Michael being kicked out quickly. Alone and desperate, Michael started job hunting, but due to his skewed perceptions, he continued to face rejections. The divorce process was initiated with a lawyer, and the settlement was finalized through mediation. Michael kept insisting he wouldn't divorce, but the evidence of his verbal and physical abuse and his extreme beliefs led to the mediator's conclusion that going to court wouldn't change the outcome. We agreed on a settlement for mental anguish, child support, and division of property, with everything legally documented. Michael's parents promised to take responsibility for him despite disowning him, ensuring he would pay the agreed amounts once he found an employment. Since it's been made clear that his wages would be garnished if necessary, he'd likely want to avoid the dishonor of that happening at his workplace, so he should make the payments as agreed. After the divorce, Michael once showed up at my new apartment. He might have learned my address from the mediation documents and ambushed me at the entrance. However, a friend of Jennifer's husband, a large man, happened to live in the same building and accompanied me home from shopping, encountering Michael. Frightened, Michael hurried away and never approached me again. Probably, a friend of Jennifer's husband was also a large man, which I believe intimidated Michael. Michael remained pitiful until the end. Later, I gave birth to a daughter and returned to work after maternity leave. Working in a cosmetics company with many female and single employees, I found a supportive environment for balancing work and motherhood. About 5 years after my daughter's birth, my product line received high praise, becoming a hit and leading to my promotion. Considering my daughter's future, the pay raise was welcome, and I was determined to work harder when Michael suddenly called. I received a call on my smartphone from an unknown number, thinking it might be work-related, but it was Michael. "I heard you got promoted. Let's meet up, I'll consider remarrying you," he said as soon as I answered. His attitude was as unreasonable and condescending as ever. "Excuse me? So, return the alimony and child support. You should be grateful I'm offering to remarry you." Disappointed that he hadn't changed at all. Even if he had shown remorse, there would be no chance of remarrying, but it's astonishing how little he has changed. I switched the call to video. And I handed the phone to my current husband. "What? What do you want with Emily?"
What? Hey, Emily!
"Who are you?"
What the? Don't mess with me!
Michael stammered in a trembling voice before the call abruptly ended. I quickly set my smartphone to block the number that had just called. "Thank you." He seemed really scared, didn't he? Is he okay? My current husband, the person who lived in the same apartment complex as me when I got divorced, was the friend of Jennifer's husband I met back then. He's even bigger and more intimidating in appearance than Jennifer's husband. But he's also incredibly kind and always prioritizes me and our daughter.
Emily, you have a prenatal checkup tomorrow, right? I'll come too. Really? Then it's a family outing. Yeah.
Our daughter, busy drawing at the dining table, cheered. We both headed into the kitchen to hurry with dinner preparations. "Time to clean up for dinner, please. Can you do it yourself?"
I can. I'm going to be a big sister.
Our daughter enthusiastically started tidying up. Indeed, there's a new life growing inside me. This time, the morning sickness was mild and vanished as I entered the stable phase of pregnancy, making me wonder if the severe sickness last time was partly due to stress.
Mommy, will we see the baby tomorrow?
Yes, we will. Let's ask to see the baby on the tummy camera again.
Daddy's coming too?
Yes, he is.
Haha.
Our daughter giggled happily. Her smile always fills me with joy. She is undoubtedly the treasure of our family. And we're eagerly awaiting the arrival of another precious addition.